Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 119 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you again on another Wednesday night, 7:35 p.m. We're not gonna have the best start to the show.
Gonna have a good show,
but we're gonna have a good show, but not the best start to the show after Ryan gets his quick moments of the week, because the story that has dominated the past week has been quite negative. But before we get into that, Ryan, as always, how are we doing right now?
Doing well, other than the reason you said. I was, hoping to jump on the show tonight and get to talk about the cool new jerseys the Bruins got to play in the other night and play well in, just how well as a team they have played. But of course, as you mentioned, the thing that has taken away from how well they've played this season was the roster move to bring in one Mitchell Miller, like you said, that we'll get to. Just a complete horrible timing, I guess, is not my biggest takeaway, because there's obviously bigger takeaways from it, but and we'll probably get into this. Just the timing of the whole thing with how great this team has played this season, how great they've looked in really every facet of the game. To do a move like this is just, it's inexcusable, and it's just very difficult for me to wrap my head around. I know this happened Friday they signed this kid. And I still have not been able to figure out any reason why this move was made in the first place. I know some people will go to, maybe he could have helped them down the line or whatever, but this is one of those things where the negatives just completely outweigh the positives, if there even were any positives to take from it. And it's still just a head scratching thing that I can't seem to figure out why you'd want to do this.
You know why they'd want to do it? Because it gets to a point with certain cases like this that talent outweighs any moral standing you could have. So if it can help your team, teams will do it with players like this. So before we get there, though, you wanted to touch on something quick baseball related.
Yeah, like I told you, this because you mentioned that to spoil it, your moment of the week is it's rightfully the Mitchell Miller thing. Mine, really quick, I told you off air, I'm probably going to spend about 20 seconds on this. It's just the Astros winning the World Series and giving congratulations where it's due to Dusty Baker, Christian Vasquez, of course, we were rooting for, being Red Sox fans, and Trey Mancini gets his first World Series. Obviously, a great storyline with him coming back from cancer last year. Now he's a World Series champion this year. And then just on the flip side of that, Yuli Gurriel, their first baseman, had, I thought, a stupid tweet that came to my attention the other day. Of course, everyone knows with the Astros, they're the team that cheated in the 2017 World Series. Gurriel just can't stay out of the way, can't forget to bring that up. He said after they won this World Series on Twitter, he had to go out there and say, quote, pitching, offense, defense, lockdown, bullpen. That's why we win, period. So now, and he put the little shush emoji, basically talking about all the people that are still wanting to brag about, or rather rip on the Astros for cheating in that World Series. And to that I say, buddy, just let it go. Like, you finally maybe won a World Series fair and square. I know there was some people that were up in arms about the games that Framber Valdez pitched in with, rubbing the baseball and rubbing his hands. So maybe they thought there was some pine tar and some stuff involved in that way. But for the most part, I think we can say the Astros probably won this World Series fair and square. But of course, being Yuli Gurriel has to go back to 2017, just remind people that they cheated to win that World Series. So that kind of dampened the moment. But yeah, baseball is over. Free agency is starting to ramp up a little bit. There was a trade earlier today between the Rangers and the Braves. Red Sox made a couple of moves, bringing back Rob Refsnyder. And then I saw James Paxton accepted his player option, so he's here for $4 million. So now the Red Sox have paid him $14 million over the last 2 years to do nothing. So that's good. But nothing too crazy baseball related. Like I said, I just wanted to briefly touch on, give credit where credit's due to a couple of guys we like on that Astros team. But other than that, not all that thrilled that the Astros were the team that beat the Phillies to win the World Series this year.
No, yeah, I mean, but when you can harp on a past World Series, you got it when you right after you win a current one.
So absolutely. Yeah.
Lose a weird thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the main topic of discussion today is the really unfortunate news that came out with the Bruins signing Mitchell Miller last Friday. A player that, had his rights renounced by the Arizona Coyotes for a very, troubling past history of racism and abuse towards a fellow classmate who was disabled, developmentally disabled, and just a pattern of racist abuse using the N-word and other racial epithets. Just a brutal story that was public knowledge after he got drafted. He was in court over this. He was convicted. He admitted, he apologized. He only apologized because he had court ordered. He hasn't apologized or shown any remorse under his own doing. He's done it because he has to.
Yep. That's my takeaway.
just a brutal person, and it's just crazy that they even sniffed the idea of doing this, because it was a completely avoidable PR shitstorm, a reputation ruiner for the team, a team that's been around forever, considered by many to be one of the pinnacle, pillar franchises of the NHL. To do this is just completely unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, for all those reasons, like I said, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And that was the big thing. You and I we texted about this, or maybe briefly talked about it, that, like you said, you have, and I talked about this with a couple other people. Obviously, when Chara gets here, there was obviously the story of him that they didn't want, or he didn't want the Bruins to refer to anybody as rookies because he found that to be a hazing type of thing throughout his career. So they kind of nixed that whole thing. And like you said, just the background of him, I mean, him becoming the captain, obviously, and changing kind of the look on the Bruins and changing how they did things. And then Bergeron obviously picking up right where he left off when he gets named captain. I thought kudos to all the players, obviously put in horrible spots, having to answer these questions. But Bergeron, I mean, the professional that we know he is, was able to answer any question. I thought great the way he did it, basically saying that, like, yeah, we've heard this kid has gone through some things changing, but if this was the same 14-year-old that walked in to the locker room, we wouldn't accept him. And then obviously after they release him, he came out basically and said that, a lot of the guys didn't feel comfortable about this. So it's basically a weight off her shoulder. That was the big thing for me. Like, listen to his interview and flat out say that when Don Sweeney asked him about this, that, he didn't feel comfortable with it. And a lot of other players shared the same thought. I know Foligno talked about that. I think Marchand too had some comments. But just, I said it earlier briefly. I don't get where the mindset was here for a lot of those reasons. You said that, it's a case where the talent may outweigh the morality standpoint of things, but like,
should.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. That, and just, again, I know people have argued that, like, people deserve second chances and stuff, but there's got to be a point where you come to where you say, okay, yeah, maybe in some situations people deserve a second chance. But like you said, when you're constantly, and this is, again, I've seen some people say or try to talk about it being, a one-time incident, which it never was. There were multiple problems that Mitchell Miller had with Isaiah Meyer Crothers. His statement I saw today, he came out and finally kind of broke his silence. And the statement he gave was, borderline heartbreaking with some of the stuff that he had to go through and deal with, and still deals with to this day. The people that are still coming at him with the N word and, the R word and, making fun of his abilities. It's just, you said it, it's opened up a complete shitstorm, can of worms, could have been avoidable or avoided. And the fact that, I don't know, I don't know who to blame in this, because I feel like there's a lot of party. I've seen Don Sweeney rightfully catches a lot of the blame. And like I joked about on Twitter, he's off to such a great start that I feel like he didn't know how to react to this. So had to go out and do something completely stupid to get people back against him. I personally feel like Cam Neely hasn't taken a lot of the blame that maybe he should, because I know a lot of his discussions when he was asked about this on Monday was talked about, they didn't do enough due diligence on the vetting process, or whatever we want to call it, checking out if he had been, I guess, rehabilitated, for lack of a better term, or if Mitchell Miller had gone through the proper protocols and stuff. And he talked about, that, we hadn't done enough background checks, I guess, as a team. But like, I feel like that falls onto him. Like, that to me, I feel like is Cam Neely deflecting on something that was a problem that kind of stems into him and falls into his lap, that, like, you're the president of the hockey team. You should be doing deeper background checks and doing some of these things that you needed to do. So I just, again, it's such a shitty situation. I can't wrap my head around, again, why you would even consider making a move like this. And then, like, I don't want to say good for them for, cutting ties with the kid, because I'm not going to give him any credit for doing that. I told you this the night it happened, that they released him, that it looks almost as bad as signing him, in my opinion, because now you basically got nothing for him. And I'm not saying I wanted to see this kid play or anything, because as we came to find out, he was basically banned from the NHL. Gary Bettman said he's not eligible to play. So, maybe the Bruins couldn't use him in anything, but, like, God forbid he was able to play and, put something out on the ice. Now you're kind of, like I said, you're releasing him. You didn't get anything out of him. And it's something, again, that could have been avoided that wasn't.
Yeah. The thing that, nobody talks about because it's, like, not as important. Like, I don't think people understand or, like, are thinking about this as much. Like, if he did play in the AHL, he would get targeted every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's what that's what I mean. It's like, how do you, I just, again, from the standpoint of, what the Bruins stand for, I know, and no player is going to say, Bergeron's not going to come out in his interview and get questioned about it and be like, yeah, we're not going to welcome this kid in because he's a scumbag. Like, everybody's thinking that on the inside, you have to imagine. But like, I don't understand. Wouldn't have been able to understand how, if this kid did make the NHL roster, like, how do you sit across from him, or, how are you a teammate of this kid being like, I'm rooting for this guy. I'm rooting for, just because of what he did. I said it talking to my grandfather. I'm like, if he ever played for Providence, and if I was a kid on the Providence Bruins that might've been like on the bubble, or was having this kid play over me, or I was going to lose playing time to him coming in, I'd be like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, it's just maddening, the whole thing from a hockey standpoint, obviously it's a hockey standpoint first, from a personality, like you said, morality standpoint thing. It's ridiculous. And for the people that were wanting to give him a second chance and wanting to be just kind of, I'm not root for him, but like, see what you had, like, there's no second chances in this. You made fun of, obviously they played the race card and made fun of a like disabled kid. Like, it stops right there when you
abuse
exactly. Yeah.
Kid.
Yep. All of that. Just there's no second chance. There's no coming back from that. And you said it too.
Forced him to eat toilet lollipops. Like it's so crazy how people like, oh, he was 14, like talking like that's a super long time ago. He's 20 years old. Like, that's not that long ago.
No, that's the thing too. It's like,
even if it was like 10 years ago, like, who cares? Like, he still did it. He admitted to it. He had to go to court over this. And the thing that bugs me the most is how avoidable this was. It's as simple as just not signing him, doing enough research and not signing him. Because it's not like any of this information that has come out since was not public knowledge before they signed him, which makes it the whole thing too more head scratching and like maddening. There is no excusing this. Like, these past few days have just been mind-bogglingly frustrating to like be someone that supported this team, because this is a team that had the first black player in NHL history and like a trailblazer for people of color trying to play hockey and like diversity and inclusion in the sport. And you sign a player that racially abused a disabled kid like repeatedly. That's just fucking crazy. Like,
it's not. Again, like, I keep going back just from the team and how they've looked so far this season. It goes against everything that is like we've talked about before, how excited it's been so far this season. You get off to as great as a start as they had, franchise best or whatever you want to call it, how they've played so far. And then you make a move like this, like, it goes against everything that the season has been so far. And I thought you made a good point too when you talked about, I know people have or probably his agent more so than anything else, because that guy's turned out to be a lying scumbag, too, in this whole situation, trying to, better his client and everything. But you talked about how this is something that's been ongoing, and, he's only made apologies because he's had to. Maz, I was listening to Felger and Maz talk about it today, and they kind of said the same thing. Maz brought up the point that, like, he apologized when he was in school in front of like school representatives and stuff and teachers like that. He apologized in his juvenile case that you briefly mentioned because he had to, like, because he was in front of judges and stuff, and you have to do that. And that, like you said, he never went out of his way to take the time to apologize to Isaiah Meyer Crothers by himself. It's always kind of been the same. Like,
there's no public apology.
There's been nothing. And then the biggest thing too that I didn't even touch on
too, that I don't think a lot of people know, is during the court case, there was another kid involved, and this kid broke down. I heard despondent, like freaking out during the case, like clearly remorseful, and Mitchell Miller just like there.
It's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll get out
no
of this,
emotion. Like, this kid is evil.
Well, my favorite, not favorite because it's going to sound bad, but I can imagine where I'm going with this. My favorite kind of little tidbit from this whole thing is when they tried coming out and saying that his apology, or Mitchell Miller's apology on Instagram to him, wasn't hockey related. It's like, that's the biggest bullshit lie I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. Like, you've been in talks with the Bruins for months now, and now all of a sudden, a week or a month before it's going to come out that you're going to sign with the Bruins, or the Bruins are going to sign you, now you put out your quote unquote Instagram apology, or you just kind of throw a text message to this kid being like, hey, not hockey related or anything, definitely not going to try to go to the NHL, but sorry for all the pain I may have caused you over the last half decade, whatever you want to call it. Just like slide that on the table. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, there's nothing that can be said in this that's going to make anybody. I mean, there's people out there that I'm sure will be stupid and try to side with this kid because you're probably just as evil as he is if you're rooting for this kid. But like, just the whole thing. It's like everything that's come out has just been one giant lie after another from Mitchell Miller's side of things. Like everything that's come out about, Isaiah Meyer Crothers is from his family, from him. Again, the statement today, like you believe 100% of that, because it's so devastating to hear that come out and just see, or hear about the pain that this kid, like you said, this evil person caused them over the years. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And again, I can't wrap my head around. Again, you keep going. I want to keep going back to the thing you said about, because we've seen it before in sports that like the player's ability is going to outweigh the morality stuff. But like there comes a time where this especially, like I draw the line at racist making fun of a handicapped kid like this.
Yeah,
there's no coming back from that, and there's no second chance deserved at that. I don't care how old you are, how long ago it was, or whatever other arguments you want to hear. People are going to try to make for this kid. Like it's inexcusable.
Yeah, and just like speaking of other arguments to make for this kid, if you're listening to this and you've defended this kid anyway, just go fuck yourself. Like honestly, like
just turn off. Truly, and go away. We don't need you.
Truly, with all disrespect intended, fuck yourself.
Yep.
You're wrong. Fuck yourself. Also, speaking of throwing fuck yourself around, fuck the Detroit Red Wings as well, and any other team that expressed interest, because multiple teams were interested, including Detroit and Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck the Detroit Red Wings too. Just want to throw that in there.
My big thing too, I wanted to, because you maybe we're going to briefly touch on this. I'm not sure, but you talked about obviously the Bruins said there was interest when he was drafted, but obviously the story is a lot of teams took him off their draft boards because of this. Like I don't know what he was drafted. 2020, like you said, by Arizona. Like what the hell changed in 2 years where you can go from taking him off your draft board because you knew how bad the situation was to now all of a sudden 2 years later you want to try to give him the whole second chance thing, which like. And
what's another crazy thing too? They talked about this on Spit and Chicklets. He apparently, like in draft interviews, told teams like, I don't want to talk about this during interviews.
Too bad. You made your bed, now lie in it. Like you fucked up royally.
There's
no huge skating around this, for lack of a better term. Like
just pile to the list of things that shows that he has no remorse. Like
no,
if he doesn't want to face
no
this,
strides have been made.
It just shows it's like, oh, I want to leave this in the past. Like this isn't important. Mm-hmm. Like that I racially and physically abused a developmentally disabled person. They signed an evil person.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's no change in something like that. No. Then I saw there is no changing that. And even if he does become this reformed person, fuck him. Yeah. There's no way like he becomes this reformed person in some scenario and everybody's like, oh, we're cool with this. Yeah, we're gonna could have predicted this so easily. And the fact that they didn't talk to the Crothers family that was gonna be my next thing, was completely fucking bizarre. I don't get how that is amongst the bare minimum things you can do. And based on new information, they decided to, renounce this signing. And they didn't talk to the kid's family or him. Like it's just so like it's so insane that this like how this just keeps getting worse. Well, that's why, like I said, it's like a lot of people want to blame Don Sweeney, and rightfully so. Or like it's like this is something someone should lose their job over, in all honesty. Like, how do you fuck this up this bad as a front office? Sweeney. Like, what's him? And then I said, like, again, I feel like not that I think they should throw in a lot of blame, but like I think Cam, again, I keep carving back on it, that Cam Neely needs to be held more accountable for this. Like I know he's delegating a lot of this, or maybe starting to point some fingers here and there, especially for the not checking in with the family comment. Like that's, again, you're the president of the hockey team. As soon as this comes across your desk, you need to be like, all right, we need to get, if we want to bring this kid in for, again, the player standpoint alone, like we have to get this right. We have to check off all the boxes, check all avenues to see what the story is and, how this is going to affect us. And it seemed like they only wanted to focus on, Mitchell Miller's side of the story and what his agent said and what his family said, rather than, the Meyer Crothers family. And just, again, it's just the fact that that's what they decided to go with is so stupid. I don't know how you discipline Sweeney and Neely enough without firing them. And another guy who needs to be disciplined, I don't know if you saw this, is Brett Harkins, one of the college scouts on the team, just liking tweets publicly defending Mitchell Miller. Well, there's someone that could be that could be your scapegoat right there. Watch that be their scapegoat. Mm-hmm. Like there needs to be severe discipline put down on like potentially a lot of people in this scenario, because
it's just like, this is just one of those things. It's avoidable and it's unacceptable. And I like, honestly, at this point, still can't believe it happened because I thought the Bruins were better than this. They're not one of these teams known for, controversy. They preach diversity and inclusion year by year. They've made strides to like promote diversity in their organization with like these training seminars and like events, and hire people of color and people of diverse backgrounds.
They've got some pretty big partners too,
and
like
women.
organization wise.
This is another thing that I forgot about until now. They partnered with Rapid 7 for the jersey sponsor.
Yeah.
The head of Rapid 7 is a black man.
Yep. One of the they do something, I can't remember the name of the organization, but they're one of their big partners too, isn't it? Like not a disability league, but like it's something to do with, I can't remember what the word exactly was, but like it falls into the category again. Like you just like, I don't know. I'm again at a loss for words here with how stupid this is. The other thing I wanted to ask you, I believe you touched on it, like again, just the watching the whole situation. I don't know how they thought that they were going to be able to do this in the first place. Like I said, that Gary Bettman, the tweet from NHL.com's Mike, is it Zeisberger, talking about talking about how this was, I think from over the weekend. He said, quote, Bettman said Miller is not eligible for the NHL and is not sure he ever will be added to the league, was not consulted before the Bruins signed him. So again, like that again falls into the fact that someone needs to lose a job over this. Cause I don't know if you thought you were going to be able to, again, for lack of a better term, skate one by the NHL here, or just slide one past them and be like, oh, we'll just put this under the radar and see if we can get like, shouldn't you check in with the commissioner of the NHL? I know Gary Bettman catches a lot of flack here, but like good for him on this one for keeping his foot down and being like, you're not going to even come remotely close to having this kid play in the NHL again. Like he is going to stay ineligible and there's nothing you can do about it.
But the thing that's craziest about it all, how does a signing get past the commissioner before being announced? How does this even get finalized? How does this even happen?
Some shady bullshit going on behind the scenes of
not only, I had to fact check this as well. So Rapid 7 CEO is a black man. Guess what? He has a disabled kid as well.
That's what that was the tweet I saw. That
fucking crazy.
Yep.
They probably didn't even know that that Isaiah was disabled when they found out about this incident. They probably did such bare minimum research. They probably didn't even know this.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is truly one of the worst moves the league has ever made. The league has ever seen. Sports has ever seen.
Nope.
Like you don't see people with pasts like this get signed very often.
No, like you have your cases there's been cases in the NFL where you obviously, names like Tyreek Hill, guys like that come to mind, but still like different situation, I guess, for lack of, I don't know. Like it's just at a loss for words. Cause it's just so much you can go in depth about talking about it. And it's just going to frustrate you more and more. Like
the good thing is he's not going to play a single game for any Bruins program.
That's my next
Bruins. The way they're going to do this, I think it seems, is they're just going to wait this out the whole year with him technically like not bought out, but they're just going to buy out his contract after this year. So that's the thing too. He's never going to play for you. And unless there's some sort of like agreement where it doesn't count towards them financially, you're going to have to pay. Like if you buy him out at the end of the year, like there's got to be
money to do nothing
situation. Yeah. Like, there's no way if they buy him out at the end of the season, they have to pay him, right? Like, there's got to be a settlement for that to not pay him. Because obviously, if they bought him out, typically they'd have to pay him a prorated version, like a lesser version. But, like, in this case, there's no way, right? There's just no way.
That's what I was going to ask you because I have no idea. All I saw, too, was that they said if, one of the things they could do is go to the players' union. And like, I get the players' union has to defend the players here, but like, how do you defend?
Nobody's going to defend.
That's what I mean. How do you defend this situation? Like,
I've seen people say
you're a
that
scumbag.
Too, like,
you're not going
to. The NHLPA is not going to be okay with this. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's like I
nobody
think
is okay with this.
The Players Association is going to let this one slide. Like, or not obviously. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to back this and be like, yeah, this is a player we're going to get in his corner and fight for. He's not getting his rightful due with the Bruins. They're going to be like, go fuck yourself, buddy. Like, no chance. That's just a crazy thing too. It's like the kid's getting money right now to be a scumbag. Like,
no, I don't think he's getting paid. I don't think he's got paid.
No, yeah, okay.
I seriously doubt it. Mm-hmm. Like, this is what you get. Unfortunately, it had to happen, but like, You signed a kid the Arizona Coyotes didn't even want because of
That
this.
should have been telling enough as
A
is.
perennially horrible franchise.
A franchise that makes wrong move after wrong move. It seems like can't do anything right. And
speaking of
finally does
draft
something
picks with
right.
the Coyotes, they're not the best with them. Besides trading for them because they had their first round pick 2 years ago now forfeited for like combine violations or like testing violations or something. It's like, yeah, this is the team you're taking their scraps from. Like, this is just a fucking embarrassing chapter.
To be a fly on the wall in the room when it's like that came across. Hey, who's a free agent we should sign? I know those kids had some problems in the past, but if we bring him in, like I had a friend of mine, we were discussing this. He wasn't defending the move, but he was like, he kind of took it from, or was trying to play both sides and took it from, like you said, the just the player standpoint on the ice type of thing and his ability. And he said, oh, if some people were high on the fact that if he was within the Bruins organization, he would have jumped up to the second or third best prospects in the organization. So like, you can look at it like from that standpoint. Crazy. And again, it looks at the standpoint of Don Sweeney can't draft to save his ass. Like,
yeah, that's another reason why he probably did this. Oh, we don't have enough good prospects. I'm going to try and slip this under the rug.
So like, not going to happen again. Like, I guess it's not a move that I'll defend to any means, but I think I said this to you. Maybe it was to the kid I was talking about, but if they got off to such a crappy start and things weren't looking great, maybe this is a move you can sneak under the radar because it's like, all right, it's a prospect that has some upside. You don't think so? There's just I'm right there with you. Like I'm just saying, like, if chance. Just to go back into how just of a complete heel turn of a move you make on such a great season, like I was gonna say, maybe if you were playing bad, this is something that could have flew under the radar. Not as much as I don't know.
It would have been worse if they were playing bad.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, because then you bring him in, it's like, all right, now it's just even more of a distraction and a headache if, with how bad the season's gone. But again, I'm not saying there's any good time to make a move like this because there isn't. There's no defending it. But I don't know. It's, again, trying to wrap your head around why Don Sweeney or Cam Neely or whoever it was that pitched this idea in the organization to think it would be a good idea to bring a player like this in, again, with everything that we've talked about and specifically the fact of, what this organization has stood for since Chara got here, because that's really when everyone seems to think the face of the franchise turned and the public perception of it turned. Like, this is just, it sets you back so many years, it feels like, because of how stupid of a move it was and just how damning it can be as the season maybe goes on. Like, I'm the one thing I'll give him credit for. Again, I don't want to give him credit for cutting ties with the kid, but like, you're going to get into the game recaps here. And you and I, when they lost to Toronto, both had the same thought. I feel like a lot of people did, where it was like, he's not on the roster, but with the organization, the first game he's there for, they lose and probably play their worst game of the season. Maybe that's a little telling. And then when they cut ties with them, the St. Louis game wasn't pretty, but they win the game. They look, they have not a come from behind win, but a come together win. They play good down the stretch. So I think you can read into that a little bit. Again, we talked about it, that none of the players seem to be happy with the move. Again, and credit where credit's due there for those guys, sticking together and trying to, answer the questions as good as they could. But it's just again, I can't harp on it enough. I know I sound like a broken record here, just such a stupid decision, and it doesn't make any sense. And there's no defending why even in the first place. Like, but the other thing too, I wanted to bring up quickly, because I saw it was on Twitter. I don't know how true it was or not. It probably was, but his Mitchell Miller's mother, the comment where she was like, oh, he's gone through a lot, or like he has an illness or something where it's like he needs help to better himself. It's like, no, this is something that you need to go out and do yourself.
If he needs help to better himself, if he needed help to better himself, he shouldn't have played a full season in the USHL last year.
Yeah, focus really more so on your public relations and like becoming a better person instead of going out there and again trying to get yourself an NHL contract. Like, his
mom, his dad retweeting all the shit defending him. Fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Fuck
like it starts with them.
Honestly. Credit to Foligno and Marchand and Bergeron, especially Bergeron, handled it as best as humanly possible, because that's just how he is. He's perfect. And look, you gotta hope this doesn't affect what Pastrnak thinks of Don Sweeney.
I didn't even think of that. That's such a great point. I didn't even think of that.
Think about the perception of wanting to sign here now.
I took a step back and thought of it in that way of like, oh, now what are people from the outside looking in going to think of the Bruins and think of the organization? I didn't even think of the Pastrnak angle, which is Ugh, that's again goes how great of a season he's had, how great of a season again as a whole they've had, and this is something that could very well not undo the season as a whole because it looks like they're gonna move on from it pretty quickly here. But like if this, it'd be interesting to see if this is something that lingers for, like you said, free agents, Pastrnak, just your own free agent stuff like that. So who knows?
They're lucky they
very
haven't lost
confusing time.
sponsors. They're lucky they haven't lost sponsors.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that one or two didn't drop off specifically for obviously the obvious reasons. But
like if Rapid 7 just squashed this and said,
Yeah.
nope, we're done now. Like take our patch off, I wouldn't have been shocked.
that would not have surprised me. Nope, and I wouldn't have gone against that reasoning.
I would love 100%. I'd love to know what their CEO thinks about this.
Like you said, I wonder if he was even told or like it was even brought to his attention. Be like, hey, did you see what the Bruins just did? Like
even in the negotiation process, like wouldn't you think
you'd think you'd make that aware
sponsor,
to someone? Yep, like hey, we're making this move.
People.
Just letting you know.
Yeah, this is a controversial player. Like, what do you guys think? Every one of them would have been like, nope. It takes 30 seconds of research. You can read one article and figure out what the hell this kid did.
One Google search. I was like, couldn't remember the name, but as soon as I saw it, one Google search, it's like, oh, okay. Now it kind of brings back, hearing about this back in 2020, what this kid did and what he stood for and what he was as a person and a player. Like, not even a player, because again, I'll take that out of it. Just as a person as a whole, not a good dude.
Yeah,
like you said, the evil can't be thrown around enough. Like, it's just such a bad look, and I don't understand it. Why of all times now this is the move you go out of all the
historic start
free agents that maybe could have helped you and all the prospects that are out there. Again, maybe not as the highest level as this kid may or may not be. Like, if you wanted to make a move, there are other ones that could have been made that you could have just not had all this turmoil and all these problems come with.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And like one last thing, like if you are one of those people still truly defending him, like you are out of your mind.
No hope for you either. Yeah,
you are out of your mind. Like,
but I wanted to see him play. He would have been good. There are people
going to the end of the world, like the ends of the earth, to defend this kid, and it's just it's fucking insane. Like, who cares if it's so many years ago? Like, it happened. That should be enough to be like, nope, just stay away from the guy. Go do something else with your life, because you shouldn't be a professional hockey player if you do shit like this.
You're not going to be. Yeah.
I don't care if you're 14 when you do it. Like,
no.
Get a fucking grip if you're defending this kid. But I think we've summed up the situation pretty well, given our thoughts. So
I think so. Yep. It's been stewing for a while. It's like,
yeah. Congrats. You just completely besmirched the reputation of the team in an irreversible way. So they have to live with that now. On to the past week of Bruins hockey, though. The Rangers, they went on the road, beat them 5-2, moved to 10-1. Omar, who's like playing every night. I
picked the wrong Vezina winner.
Yeah, the Swayman injury makes 18 saves and 20 shots. Pastrnak starts the scoring with a ridiculous backhand goal with no angle, just because that's the type of thing he's capable of doing. Just added to the resume. Coyle kept his scoring streak going. He had a tough start to the season. I literally remember the night before he scored his first goal, start the scoring streak, like talking to one of my friends at work about like how like there's all these positives, but you like to see more from Coyle, then he just rattles off a scoring streak. So, reverse jinx, I guess. Frederick got bundled by Braden Schneider and led to a little 2-on-2 rumble with Frederick and Greer and Schneider and Barclay Goudreau. So that was cool. I think first fight the Bruins have been involved in this year, if I'm not mistaken, in the regular season. But it was a good win. I mean, the Rangers are off to a little bit of a tough start, but still a pretty good roster.
I still say it's a pretty good win, yeah.
Pretty capably with Igor Shesterkin in net. So it's not like, you got their backup, who's old friend Jarl Halak. You got their number one guy and beat him handily. So that's good.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was worried about for that game. It's just that the Shesterkin factor. And I mean, it wasn't an easy win by any means, but like you look up and you see, obviously they didn't get 5 goals all against them, but it's like, it's a pretty solid win against a really good goalie. And like you said, a team that has struggled, but a team that is expected to be pretty good and be right there down the stretch as the season, comes to a close.
Yeah, my cup pick. So, if you want that to happen, they need to start playing better. But I don't want it to happen. So hope I'm wrong. But the cursed game next, you go to Toronto. It's crazy how everything worked out with the whole Friedman interview and that whole clip of with Bergeron that dropped. For anybody who didn't see 32 Thoughts today, was the full interview sans the Mitchell Miller stuff. So if you want to listen to Patrice Bergeron talk for a half hour with Elliot Friedman, go do that. The 32 Thoughts episode I listened to it this morning. It was really good. Patrice Bergeron is just like, the guy can't do wrong. He's just
classy as classy gets.
Yeah, he really is. Ulmark played good. 26 saves and 28 shots. It was really just all Austin Matthews for the Maple Leafs for the most part. He did all the scoring and was definitely their best player. Ilya Samsonov got hurt, which has led to a little bit of chaos in their net. They actually signed Keith Petruzzelli, who's a Mass native, to they bumped up his AHL deal to an AHL deal. So congrats to Keith. He was an absolute monster. I think he's our age, playing at Pope Francis. He's just a stud goalie. He went to Quinnipiac as well. Fun fact. Marchand gets the only goal of the game on a penalty shot, but he embarrassed Samsonov. And yeah, this is just a game that just felt like they were going to lose. Everything was off with the signing and of Mitchell Miller, and it just threw the team for a loop for a little bit. Now that it's over, with a win against the Blues last night or 2 nights ago, now it feels like, maybe this is behind them and they're ready to, let it be a thing, an unfortunate thing of the past. But a tough loss to the Bruins. It sucks to, lose to the Leafs, but it's whatever. St. Louis 2 nights ago, 11-2 on the season after this one, 3-1 win. I forgot to put how many saves Ulmark made in here, but that's okay.
It was just so good. All he needed to do was put his last name, and you just know
Right.
exactly that he was a stud in this game.
Right. Yep. That's we'll go with that. Pooh Bear season debut.
Loved it.
Pretty nice. The jerseys were awesome. Your thoughts on the jerseys?
Yeah, the whites just look so clean. Like, because the original ones were it was yellow, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah. Like weren't bad looking, but like the fact that they went with just the whites is the main one they're gonna go with it's very good choice. Enjoyed them very much.
Yeah, the white just pops on a white ice surface as well, even more. Yep. And I was like, damn, like they're looking better than I thought they would. But yeah, that was really cool to see. I think they have like 6 or 7 more games this season with the Pooh Bears, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get plenty more. I'll try to be in the building to see them in their full glory in person at some point this year. But we'll see if, when that cross that bridge when it comes to it. Ulmark made 26 saves and 27 shots in this game. The Bruins got it started. The Bruins got off to a tough start with penalties a little bit. Killed all of them, even without Forbert. Their penalty kill is not missed a beat, even without arguably their best penalty killer on defense. I think you could definitely make that case. DeBrusque gets the goal scoring started, though, for the Bruins' first power play opportunity. Bergeron scored in the bumper late in the game, and Trent Frederick scored his second goal in 3 games. He's getting a little hot offensively. Maybe we see that part of his game unlocked, but it wasn't the best game for the Bruins. But the weirdest thing about this game to me, and I hope other people noticed it too, because I thought it was pretty obvious, was like they called things pretty strictly in the first period, and then I literally started counting at a point. There were 6 instances where there were like clear like hooks or trips that just weren't called.
Just letting them play.
Like it's not like everyone was like 100% like no doubter, but like enough to reasonably consider a penalty being called. And it wasn't even just against the Blues. Like there were some against the Bruins. It was going both ways, and they just didn't call anything. Then they call a hand pass on Bergeron that he certainly did not touch with his hand, and that was
kind of defeats the purpose of that penalty.
That was right at the time Marchand had the puck, looked like a high danger scoring chance was about to come out of it, and just completely squash it with an unnecessary whistle. Weird game in that regard. Not the Bruins like best 60-minute effort either. I thought they were sluggish at times, but you're gonna have games like that, and they still pulled it out against a pretty bad Blues team, a team that's worse than who we projected to be the worst teams in the league this year, like the Blackhawks and the Coyotes. Nope, the Blues are one of the worst teams.
You hate to see
who would have thunk it? Yeah, I really do. I do hate to see it.
I'm sure you were very upset too that it was Bennington that took the loss the other night too. Like
Oh
he was
yeah,
the,
I couldn't sleep.
it's rough.
Couldn't
Did he
happen to a
pull?
better
I
guy.
missed this game because of work. I saw one of your tweets though. Was he pulling some shit again
I
after a
thought
whistle?
so. It looked like it in the initial angle. Like Coyle was going at it with Krug. They were going at it with each other. And like
Okay.
Coyle was kind of like giving him this look like he was like making fun of him. Like
Mhm.
actually like they were actually pissed off at each other, like mocking him or something. So maybe there's, a little bad blood there
Bad
somehow.
blood, yeah.
But it looked like Bennington like went under and grabbed Coyle's skate and tried to like pull it out from under him so
Trip
he'd
him, yeah.
fall. But they actually showed an ankle cam view in the third period, and you could see what happened way better, and he didn't. He was just going for the puck,
Okay.
but it looked very clear to me, at least, that like he was trying to grab the skate and take Coyle out, and
Wouldn't
like
surprise
potentially
me.
hurt him.
Yeah,
Like,
would not surprise me in the slightest.
which,
But
yeah, and like of course, with a different goalie, I might not jump to that conclusion as easily, but like it's the guy, a week ago bumping into Ilya Sorokin for no reason, trying to start shit. He's always, swinging a stick at people, throwing water bottles,
fake
like
tough
talking
guy.
shit, fake tough guy,
Yeah.
biggest loser goalie to ever play the game.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Bruins got it done, and Jordan Bennington sucks, and so do the Blues. So, that's a real shame.
Yep.
Up next, though, Calgary 5-5-2, definitely underachieving. Jonathan Huberdeau's day today, so I wonder if he's going to play tomorrow night. That'd be a big loss for them. Nazem Kadri is off to a point per game start to his Flames career, looking really good there. I was thinking maybe this is a Keith Kincaid game, even though the Flames are really good. Maybe you want him against like a lesser opponent like Buffalo or Vancouver, but they are going with Ullmark from the looks of things. So Ullmark will play again. He's just been worked to death
Is there
so
any
far
concern there?
because of the Swayman injury. Not really, because like he's handling it pretty well overall, but like I just like kind of
Gotta
feel
mix him
for
in.
him.
It's
Like,
Kincaid at some point though. Like you got to give
gotta be
him
wheezing.
a couple of starts here and there. Like
Yeah, you want like a barometer for Kincaid too.
yeah,
Like if Kincaid were to play a game or two while Swayman's out and really struggle, maybe next time, God forbid you need to call up a goalie, maybe you call up Mikey DiPietro, who you got for in the Stanika trade, who hasn't even reported to the Bruins yet. He's just been on loan with Abbotsford playing for the Canucks.
he's
minor
still
league
on
team.
Vancouver's roster. We said
Yeah.
that last week. So
He's on loan there still.
Yep.
So you don't have him as an option, but like maybe if he struggles, you want to have some sort of barometer. So like, is he going to be the guy in the future? Or maybe it's Brandon Bussey or Kyle Kaiser. I have to imagine he starts the Buffalo or Vancouver game. Definitely not both, but
definitely back to back.
I don't know.
Did they give a timetable when Swayman might be back? I'm curious if maybe they think he's coming back soon. Okay, I'm just curious maybe if Swayman's coming back sooner than they think, and maybe once he does, they just kind of ride him for a couple games. Maybe that's why they're not playing Kincaid at all, but
yeah,
who knows? They work in mysterious ways, as we've come to find out, both good and bad.
Yeah, like there's rumors that like Forbert broke a finger, but they haven't confirmed that.
Well, he had surgery the other day, didn't he? I thought I saw, or a couple of days ago. I thought I saw that,
but he's been posting videos of his dog. So he's in good spirits, hanging out with Darla, who's become like a Bruins fandom celebrity. Charlie McAvoy on the ice playing ahead of this game at practice, full participant with Lindholm, led the group stretch. Brad Marchand led the group stretch, then played the next day unexpectedly. There are some vibes out there that Charlie McAvoy might make his season debut tomorrow night. So led the stretch. They were all, giving him hugs and like celebrating after. I kind of think they know that he's going to play.
He's back. Yeah.
Well,
they did waive Mike Riley today. So
yeah, like
the writing might be on the wall there.
That's another thing. Like Mike Riley's on waivers. You can push back the need for like a trade in the next 24 hours or so by putting Forbert on long-term IR, which I imagine they do unless they have a trade in the works to free up the additional $1.7 million they'll need to if Riley doesn't get claimed and you have $3 million off the books and you're good. Because I think they'd be like 2.89 million over the cap if just like on a base transaction level, like with Riley's status in the air. I think it's like 2.89, then it goes to 1.7 if Riley goes down, and then you have to clear the 1.78 ish. that you need to, be cap compliant, I think it's easily solved by Forbert. So you kick the can for a week or two or whatever, and then you're looking at probably trading Mike Riley or Craig Smith in the next couple weeks. That's what I'm
I
expecting.
don't know
Like
who I would rather
there's
trade out of
no
those
other
two.
there's no other de facto move. Like even if Foligno sucked, like you're not going to move him now because he's playing really good. Like the Blues game for Foligno was the best game he's played as a Bruin. He was all over the place. He wasn't like scoring like crazy or anything, but like it was the most engaged and the most offensively like active game I've seen from Nick Foligno as a Bruin by far.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the stories this year. Like Nick Foligno's
He's been excellent.
resurgence.
Yeah.
He's like a legit shift by shift, like you can count on him guy now.
He's
That
finally
he
the
just
guy you
absolutely
expected
was
him to be
not
last year and never
Yeah.
kind of panned out to be.
He's more than I expected him to be last year. Like
Okay.
right now, he really is playing great. Like he looks completely revitalized. And if the Bruins get McAvoy back, that would just be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo up next in Buffalo. They're 7-6, sixth in the Atlantic Division. Rasmus Dahlin, who's having a Norris Trophy potential caliber season, and Tage Thompson lead the team in points at 16 apiece. See, I'm kind of putting a spin zone on the Sabres here because, like, we're used to consistently the past few years, like, oh, the Sabres are hot, but they always find a way to screw it up.
That's true. That is their
Now
MO.
they're kind of meh. So maybe this is the year
They turn
that
it around.
they turn it around a little bit and either get close to a playoff spot or sneak into a wild card or something. So, I don't know if any Sabres fans listening right now. Maybe spin zone. Maybe this is it's like hot and cold kind of start. It's good for the Sabres. Maybe they won't come crashing and burning like they do when they have these hot starts in the past. But a team that's scrappy and making some people surprised out there. But like this is a game you should win against the Sabres, I think. Vancouver really struggling, even though Elias Pettersson's on pace for a career year. They're 4-6-3, sixth in the Pacific. Jackson Niga scored his first goal as a Canuck last night. Got to look out for the Jackson Niga revenge game here.
Yeah.
I'm not counting on it, but it could happen. Andrei Kuzmenko, kind of one of the under the radar signs of the offseason, the 26-year-old they brought over from Russia. Looking pretty good, just shy of a point per game. I think he's like 11 points in 13 games. But they're rough on defense. They missed Quinn Hughes for a little bit due to injury, and the goaltending has not been great. So this is a team you should beat, and I think the Bruins will. And I'm counting on it here. But an interesting slate of games. You got Calgary underperforming, Buffalo kind of in this like lukewarm state, and then you have a easily winnable game hopefully against Vancouver at home. So I like this stretch of games for the Bruins. Like we said earlier, hopefully this debacle of a signing is in the rearview mirror and they can just focus on continuing to dominate and score tons of goals and getting Charlie McAvoy back in the mix hopefully now. If not now, maybe they get him back in the Buffalo game, who knows. But things are good outside of the debacle, and that's what we're going to choose to focus on now.
Yeah,
in the future.
I was just gonna say
stuff.
we left with high feelings and high hopes to this team after last week's show. Things really didn't turn out great over the weekend, obviously. But now we'll leave hopefully with the high hope of McAvoy coming back, and I'm gonna say let's make McAvoy the only addition to this team over the weekend. Nothing else. Stick with McAvoy. Stick with a guy we all know and like. Don't do anything stupid. Get some wins and continue to if there's a trade to be made with Mike Riley or like you said, maybe Craig Smith, bring in some guys there that don't have any character problems, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, ideally Mike Riley just gets claimed.
That too. Yeah, that's true. He has to go through that first before he gets traded.
He's the guy I think's trade value. Not having a great start of the year, and if he now clear waivers twice, trade value is going to be pretty low. So at this point, I'm just kind of hoping he gets claimed to, make it easier on Sweeney to not go and look for a trade and potentially struggle and, make this a complicated ice cream headache, as Ty Anderson likes to describe these cap situations they're finding themselves in with guys coming on and off long-term IR. We'll see how that pans out, but I think there's a good chance we see Mike Riley or Craig Smith shipped out within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
I wouldn't hate either of those moves, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't either. It sucks, having to trade one of those guys because
I've just lost all faith in Craig Smith. Like
Yeah,
you have better options at this point. Like you said, I know he's
exactly.
not the greatest player on the planet, but Frederick is starting to play better. I know Greer sat the other night. I'd rather see him out there than Craig Smith. Like, yeah, obviously you have McLaughlin waiting in the wings in Providence.
That's what I was thinking today. Like if you trade Craig Smith, AJ Greer comes back into the lineup, and maybe you bench Nosek or something and get Mark McLaughlin up here, because I have to imagine, they would like. At this point with Nosek, like you have to try to push him a little bit, and they're not really doing that. They're just kind of like, oh, you can just chill in the fourth.
Yeah, he's kind of not safe, but like I guess safe's the right word. Like there's no, like you said, pushback, or there's nobody really hunting for his job or anything right now. So
yeah, but we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. We'll see if the Bruins keep their winning ways up, because it's been a great season so far.
Yep.
But up next, typically people who listen, they're used to hearing them during the season first, but we had to push Patriots back this week for
obvious reasons.
The nature of the Mitchell Miller stuff, but Patriots beat the Colts pretty handily in one of the truly most awful offensive games I've ever watched in my life, especially in the first half, because there was just nothing going on offense really for either team for the most part, especially the Colts. And the Bruins, or the Patriots in this case, not the Bruins. Bruins don't play football. Chased Frank Reich out of Indianapolis.
Yeah, he's gone. They fired their
like
OC.
Yep. So
they're
decent.
Yeah, everyone's
hiring Jeff Saturday, who's never coached in the NFL or college.
Just hire Peyton Manning as the OC while you're at it. Like,
I heard the part of my take guys suggest that this could be a move that they could like relegate Saturday after this year to a lower role and use this to appease Peyton Manning to potentially join the team.
Oh God.
I could realistically see that.
Is it the right move?
Oh, let's bring in one
Probably
of Peyton
not.
Manning. Let's bring in one of Peyton Manning's friends to lure him to join the team in some way. I could truly see that happening. But yeah, the Patriots.
This game sucked. Like
Frank Reich.
Let's not sugarcoat it. This game sucked.
That's that's the biggest thing from the Colts perspective, because they didn't do anything on offense. They had 103 yards of offense, and then if you count the 9 sacks for 60 yards, they had 43 net yards of offense.
Nice.
Which is just
it's a recipe for success right there. Yeah.
26-3 win for the Patriots. They're now 5-4. Nice to see the team get over 500. And, it wasn't a crazy like offensive day for Mac Jones, but, they got enough points to, get you to a point where you were never uncomfortable in this game, which is nice. And a stinker from the Colts perspective. And 26-3. This score was kind of surprised with the scoregami. I was kind of wondering if this was going to be a scoregami, but it wasn't.
Yeah, you don't see many 26-3 games. Like
it was all about the defense in this game.
As
they showed out in a big way, and in turn exposed serious issues with the Colts offensive line.
Yeah, they're not. It's just the Patriots offensive line wasn't great in this game either, but the Colts, made the Patriots offensive line look like a top tier unit with how bad they play. Like you said, the 9 sacks is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And speaking of the offensive line, hopefully the Patriots after the bye week will be getting David Andrews back. He's back to practice today.
It was a big loss too. Yep.
Ahead of the bye week, just getting the reps in, which is nice to see. So I have to imagine if he's practicing, we will see him against the Jets coming up out of the bye week. So that's
which would be nice, because we saw what happened
when they played the Jets without David Andrews. Things.
Yeah,
I like David Andrews. I like him, being that big stabilizing presence.
Yeah.
Onto studs and duds though, because you have a theme in your studs and duds. You go all defense and all offense.
Yeah. Oh, you said it. It was a good day for the defense. That shows in the studs. It was a bad day for the offense. That shows in the duds. Honorable mention. I didn't put him in here on mine. I forgot to add it a little too late. I would have had Jalen Mills, because he was pretty good in this game. I thought I saw coverage stat wise. He was like 0 for 4, 0 for 5. Didn't allow a catch. I know we were very skeptical of him to start the season when it came to him being named the de facto number 1 corner, but he's played really well this year. So I'll give credit where credit's due there. No complaints with how he's looked. But with my number 3 dud, I stick with the defensive backs, and it's Jonathan Jones. 0 for 2 in the coverage stats, 1 tackle, 1 pick. It was a 17-yard pick, 6 scores, and had the 1 block punt that set up maybe the most exciting play of the day, the 3-yard touchdown pass to Ramondre Stevenson, because that was pretty much the nail in the coffin for the Colts on defense. Put the Patriots up, I think, 13-0 at the time, maybe.
I think
Might have been, if I was correct, if I remember correctly. That game was, again, just a blur of boringness. So apologies if I'm wrong there, but it did put the Patriots up, put the nail in the coffin of the Colts. When they never look back, Jonathan Jones, kind of the same thing. We were some questions about him going into the season, coming off an injury. How would he looked? And he's been very good this season and was very good in this game.
Agreed. I until I was putting my studs and duds in this morning, I kind of forgot the block punt even happened.
I was getting out of my car coming home from work.
That game was a blur.
Yeah.
It kind of it was just an enigma.
It was the most boring 20-point blowout I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was really wild in that regard.
Yeah.
Like last week, I'm pretty sure I did the same exact thing last week. I'm going all linebackers, spoiler alert, in my studs.
I think you did do that last week, yeah.
Starting with Juwan Bentley, 5 tackles, 3 assisted tackles for 8 combined, 1 sack for 5 yards, tackle for a loss, and 2 QB hits. Him, Uche. I put him, Uche, Bentley, and Tavai. So I essentially put Bentley in there twice. But
it's such a great game. We
Bentley,
did twice, yeah.
Did it twice, worthy of that accolade. Uche, Bentley, Tavai, and Judon. I think I must have just put him in there.
Skipped out Judon, yeah.
Judon. And even Jelani Tavai were amazing in this game. They were just completely destroying the Colts offensive line and giving Sam Ehlinger just no chance to get comfortable. So starting with Juwan Bentley, he will, start off my group of the linebacker studs.
All right. Week. You kind of spoiled it going with, if anybody watched the game, the 2 linebacker studs you have. I have them as well. We'll start with number 2. Josh Uche, 6 tackles, 3 sacks, 11 yards on those sacks. 3 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits. He was all over the field all day. It's a guy we've briefly talked about in the past. I think you and I both had high hopes when they drafted him because he looked like he was going to be a guy that could fit right in and play pretty well in this defense. Hasn't had the opportunity due to injuries. Hasn't had the opportunity because he hasn't really played all that well when he's been out there at times. This was the first game I thought, and I'm sure you can attest to it too, where he really looked like the guy that we thought he was going to be and showed glimpses of the guy, coming out of college. It looked like he was going to be a contributing factor in this defense.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like the start of potentially late bloomer season for him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice to see. Yeah, I mean, he was all over the place. It's kind of wild how 2 linebackers on the same team had 3 sacks. I can't imagine that's a super common thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was one of them. I think you can make the case this is his best game so far in his NFL career.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just the guy he was branded to be, this explosive linebacker who can get to the quarterback and create havoc. And I can comfortably say, I think this is his best game I've seen him play. So
I'd have to agree with you there. And then a guy that has pretty much, he's been the anti-Isaiah Wynn. We've always joked that Isaiah Wynn has a spot on the duds list. I think Matt Judon at this point has a spot in the studs list because he's my number 1 again. He's your number 1 again as well. 6 tackles. You said it. He was the other linebacker with 3 sacks. He accumulated 20 yards on those. 3 tackles for losses and 4 quarterback hits. It seemed like he was in the backfield more than Sam Ehlinger was, or Ehlinger. I keep saying his name wrong. Seemed like he was in the backfield as much as he was all afternoon long. Hell of a game from Judon. He just continues to be an absolute beast on the field, and is just making plays left and right everywhere. He's looking like the guy he was last year, and it seems like is going to hopefully put together a full season, as we've talked about before. Doesn't really seem like there's any signs of him slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people talking about Micah Parsons as the best linebacker in the league this year, and they're just not giving Matt Judon.
I think Judon needs a little,
especially
little
after this week.
Here.
He's widening that margin on the sack leaderboard. He's just out.
The 6 tackles seems low for him. I know he seemed like he was in on every play.
He's out of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
He's making this look like one of the best free agent signings they've made in a long time.
Absolutely. He's right number 1 right there up there for me over the last couple of years. I can't find anybody that maybe would argue that or would go against that.
Yeah, and it's really crazy to see because the Patriots aren't a team known for having amazing edge rushers like this.
No, it's never been their MO. Yeah.
You really appreciate them when they are this good because we've had good edge rushers in the past, Rob Ninkovich was really good for a while. Trey Flowers was really good when he was here. We've had other guys as well, but they just haven't had a guy like Matt Judon like in a long time.
From a consistency basis, too, again, I know I said last year, obviously we saw what happened last year, but like this year alone, he's been their number one player on defense, it seems like week in and week out.
Yeah, I can comfortably say like that's not happening this year. This drop off is not happening. Like,
so you have fully come back around on Matt Judon then, because you're ready to write him off. It seemed like at the end of last year. So
I was pissed like this offseason too, because I really didn't like all the recruiting stuff. It got really
that's what I was trying to remember what the other thing was. It was aggravating.
You are shooing people away from the team.
That's right. He was trying to be
stop. But I've come around. Like he's a wrecking crew on his own. Like,
all right.
He's incredible.
Yep, he's been phenomenal. Can't say enough good adjectives about him. On the dud side of things, though, we're going to talk about some bad adjectives now. You said it. I have 3 offensive linemen, and rightfully so, because the offensive line probably played its worst game of the year. If you thought the Jets game was bad, hopefully you missed this one because it was not pretty. Yodny Kajust is my number 3. Cratty Pay all afternoon just basically beat him like a rented mule. There were a couple of plays. Mark Daniels had an article that I was going to touch on a little bit later where he talked about the struggles of the offensive line and pointed to Kajust as one of the problems. Allowed a sack to Pay on around 3 seconds after the ball was snapped in the first quarter. And then the second quarter, Pay beat him again in just 2.15 seconds on a 3rd and 2. And then, of course, Mac Jones, he missed Ramondre Stevenson in that play, had to get sped up because of Pay's pressure. Kajust got a chance to come in and play because of some struggles from some other guys, notably Isaiah Wynn, notably Cole Strange. And he did not play all that well.
No, he didn't. I mean, this guy is definitely in a tweener stage early on in his career. They've given him shots and he's looked okay in the past, but this is definitely a forgettable one for him. But still a young player. But even when he plays bad, hopefully this experience is going to be good for him and help him improve down the road, because there are going to be situations going forward they're going to need him. So hopefully these reps can help him more than they hurt him going forward. Jake Bailey is my number 3 dud.
Good on you for picking the punter, because he stinks.
He just I don't know what's up with him. I really can't act like a punter expert. He's just not as effective as he is. That's really all I have to say. It's kind of a shame because he looked like a punting god for a while. We joked about it last year. I'm pretty sure he was their MVP at times in games last year. I
don't
know what happened, man. He's not himself.
Fell off the wagon or something. But yeah, it's a little concern. It's not a little. It's a lot concerning, especially with how bad the offense looks. Like you had to try to pin the defense.
They signed him to like a 4-year contract extension, a year ago too.
Last year, I think, yeah.
Got money committed to him. Like you need more from the guy.
It's the first case of a punter getting his money and then just kind of fading off and saying, "I got paid." I can't imagine the punter position is a one you'd think of as something like that, but who knows? Maybe that's the case. You hope he figures it out, because again, he's a guy you're going to need down the stretch, especially if you can't figure it out on offense. You're going to have to put your defense in good spots. And he has not been doing that this season, which is not great to see.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is.
Consensus 1s and 2s again for me and you. We will start with number 2. And it's a guy that I think it's pretty firm to say has hit his rookie wall this year. Cole Strange was benched for Isaiah Wynn in this game. I think I could stop the argument right there as to why he should be on the duds list, but I'll continue. He played just 15 snaps in this game, 24%, had an illegal use of the hands penalty that was declined. So got lucky there. And then this is from the Boston Globe's Nicole Yang talking about that potential rookie wall. She said, quote, "According to Pro Football Focus, Strange's performance the past 2 weeks has earned a pass blocking grade of 21.8, which ranks 62nd among guards. That mark is significantly lower than the 81.7 he earned during weeks 4 through 7. Kind of a tough stretch for Strange, because you and I think, talked about him before as, how great of a season, a start he had, being a draft pick that was not looked all that highly upon by a lot of people because it is a guard. But it kind of put some of those doubters to bed a little bit. Now has kind of reopened that doubt with how poorly he's played the last couple of weeks. How concerned are you? Because like I said, you have measure 2 as well, so you can jump in on this question. How concerned are you on Cole Strange moving forward?
I am a little concerned because he looked so good, and then things took a pretty rapid turn the past few weeks.
Very steep decline.
Yeah, so I am worried right now, but
okay.
I'm not panicking, but I'm a little concerned.
I don't see how you can't be. It's definitely something wrong right now. Again, I think the rookie wall argument is definitely something you could point to, because guys are starting to figure him out. Now he's going to have to adjust to some different looks. Number 1, though, no surprise, it's a guy who is firmly put himself in this position. Isaiah Wynn gets the spot again. He allows a sack, got a holding penalty. I think he's up to 5 holds on the year now. I'd like to know if there's a record for, amount of holding penalties one offensive lineman gets in the season, because Isaiah Wynn's probably creeping up on that. Did allow a quarterback hit as well and had 2 run stuffs allowed. He was benched at right tackle for Kajust, then came back in when Cole Strange was benched, and he still sucked. It didn't matter where he is, and I think that's why he should be number 1 on the list, because it doesn't matter where you put him on this offensive line. He's not good anywhere. Maybe they try him out at center, see if he can figure that out. I doubt it. But it's just, I know this is a guy you talked about moving around before. Now you get to see him move around a little bit, and it's just not working no matter where you put him.
Yeah, man, he just sucks.
He's terrible. Yep.
Isaiah lose season.
Yep. Again, just
Isaiah lose a roster spot after this season, please.
Pretty much. I'm shocked he survived the trade deadline, but now I guess with David Andrews having the concussion and and then you're kind of thin at the position right now. I know you said Andrews is coming back, but Marcus Cannon's obviously been dealing with a concussion as well. So there is some concerns moving forward there. Isaiah Wynn's a guy you might need down the stretch because of the lack of the depth, but it's just, I don't know how you can feel confident putting him in any position on the line because he's not good anywhere.
Yeah, he's just good. That's really it. I don't have anything to say about him at this point.
No, that's what I mean. It's like week after week, it might be getting old for people listening. You try to find, you go to the studs and duds list, and listeners are probably going, okay, well, we know one of the positions. They're going to say the same crap about Isaiah Wynn they say every week. I don't know what else there is to say about him. Like, we're gonna have to come up for new, things to say, or new jokes to make. Like, we're just plugging the same old hits here. It's just crap on Isaiah Wynn week after week.
Right.
But you kind of talked about it. Mac Jones's performance in this game. It's a guy that you and I have had differing opinions on this season. I know, again, a lot of people I saw were saying this was not a great Mac Jones game. It wasn't on paper, but as you mentioned, David Andrews, the Patriots clearly missed on him, allowing 4 sacks and 7 quarterback hits in this game. Your thoughts on Mac Jones's performance in this game? Kind of another middle of the pack game. As I said, there was a Mark Daniels article that I was going to point to on maybe pumping the brakes a little bit on the Mac Jones hate, because again, the offensive line was not great in this game.
Yeah, I'm definitely tempering things a little bit because of tempering things a little bit because of the O-line struggling at times and missing their heartbeat, literally. But Mac Jones is just not doing anything that really shows signs of development. For me, I think if anything, he's taken steps back.
Oh, I think it's clear. And then again, I think you argue, the play calling in this game was not great at times. The first couple of drives was like pathetic when it comes to
your offensive line is injured. It's struggling at times. You lose your OC. You don't replace them with an adequate replacement. It's going to throw things off, but they're just like, outside of those things, just from ability standpoint, I just really haven't seen any growth. And that's,
I don't know how this is the argument you and I have, I think, is because I know the player hasn't looked great. And again, how much blame do you put on him? I still lean towards the fact that the offense is just a train wreck as a whole. And they have no offensive line, and they have no legitimate offensive coordinators. They have no help when it comes to receivers. It was in the article. I'm not going to read the whole thing that Mark Daniels put out here, but he put some blame on the receivers, rightfully so. This was the last point of the article. He said, quote, "When it comes to placing blame, the Patriots pass catchers deserve some as well. There were 2 drop passes in this game, Kendrick Bourne and Tyquan Thornton, as well as 2 covered sacks where no one was open. On the first sack of the game, Jones held the ball for 4.13 seconds before getting hit. Later in the second quarter, on the 3rd and 3, Jones held the ball for a ridiculous amount of time, 6.64 seconds with no one open before he took off and was sacked." So again, you can put some blame on Mac Jones there for holding the ball too long. You could put some blame on the play calling of, why maybe your guy's running downfield when they can't get open. And then you could just put the blame on, again, Kendrick Bourne. I think maybe he could have been a notable mention in the duds list because he did not have a great game again. I think he played the second most snaps for a receiver. Did you really notice that Kendrick Bourne was out there? Tyquan Thornton, it's kind of seemed like his role has diminished the last couple of weeks, that you and I were high on him in one of his first, I can't remember what game it was, where he first kind of showed out a little bit. But he really hasn't done a whole lot since finally getting on the field. You don't obviously know about Devontae Parker's health. You don't know about Nelson Aguilar's health, stuff like that. So there are some concerns there, of course. And then the offensive line, again, not great in this game. You're hoping David Andrews can get back. So again, I think I keep, maybe it's, kicking the can down the road a little bit here for people listening, but I still want to hold out hope for Mac Jones. I still think this offense has a load of problems outside him. Like, you look at where they rank in a lot of the stats: 19th in total yards, 26th in yards per game, 20th in total passing yards, 24th in passing yards per game. They're 16th in points per game. There's a lot of problems on this offense. I don't think it stems just from the quarterback. I think, play calling is a huge thing. Bill Belichick, I don't know if you saw this the other day, basically confirmed that defenses know what's coming when they play against them. This is from Zach Cox. He said, quote, Bill Belichick confirmed that Colts linebacker Shaq Leonard, quote, for sure seemed to know the Patriots calls on multiple offensive plays in Sunday's game. Said he saw the same thing from CJ Mosley the week before. This was from Bill saying that it was almost like Mosley heard the play in the huddle. He was so fast to, obviously making the play and stuff like that. So that's a huge problem right there. Opposing defenses know your plays, and if you're telegraphing things, maybe that's on Mac Jones for telegraphing it, but maybe that's on the play calling. Like, I was just talking about this with my dad tonight at dinner. It's like, I can't imagine it's hard for defenses, when they announce that an extra lineman's coming in. Defense is probably not, it's going to be a run play. Like, there's no trickery there. Like, we know you're going to run the ball, bringing in the extra protection. So it's just a mess right now. Hopefully with the bye week coming at maybe a perfect time here, with the offense looking as bad as it ever has, they can figure some things out. But I just don't know how confident I am, because, like you said, you don't have a legitimate offensive coordinator. We've been saying that all season. Where do you go from here? How do you try to figure things out? And I don't know if they have a legitimate plan for that.
I don't either. And like, at this point, you need to let it play its course with Mac as long as he's healthy. But if this gets to a point, I know I'm looking ahead, like, where we're talking about the same stuff next year, I think you need to evaluate your options at quarterback and look elsewhere.
I think that's fair. I mean, there is one thing I'm holding out hope for, and that's the fact that a certain head coach shakes free after this season because of how bad of a year he's had. And
he did, though. Do you see from the
that's right,
Adam Schefter that tweeted that Josh McDaniels is let go?
Twitter's a shitstorm right now.
Yeah,
like, Miles Bryant was also released today, for the people that
Connor
missed
McDavid
that.
was traded to the Islanders today.
Yeah, yep. That was a big move. I don't know how we didn't touch on that.
So I saw that. I was sitting at work. I saw that. I was like, I know there's just no way this is true, but I'm going to read through the whole tweet and see if there's something that makes it jump out that people aren't realizing. And like, he said in Long Island instead of on Long Island, which is a huge thing. Yep. Like a faux pas that people are very passionate about around there. Like, he wasn't capitalizing. Like, he didn't capitalize the I. He said like I in a sentence.
Okay.
Like, professional athletes are putting out poorly, structured tweets like that. I was like, oh, this is funny because people are definitely going to believe this. Now these accounts are getting suspended impersonating people.
Oh, I told you, I believe the Miles Bryant one, where I was like, yes, they finally released Miles Bryant. I was going to send it to you, completely forgot. And then afterwards, when you texted me, it's like,
Belichick's not going to be releasing people right now. Like,
I wouldn't put it past him. It is Bill Belichick, but I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. Like, you have to ride it out. I think they're going to. They're not going to go back to Zappy unless there's an injury, like you mentioned, as long as Max stays healthy. But something's got to change. And again, I think the bye week is obviously going to come at a decent time here, where they can have that extra time to figure some things out and hopefully get things rolling. Because if this wasn't an eye-opening performance, and I hope it was, just again with how bad it was, I think it's kind of crazy that Bill Belichick is admitting that defenses know the play that's coming. Like, that's a little scary. I can't imagine that this is something that would have been not accepted by him, but you know what I mean? Like, this is something he wouldn't have stood for a couple years ago with, the Brady era and stuff like that. But there's definitely some clear problems here, which again, why I still see some people that are like, oh, Max, he just flat out sucks. There's no hope for him. It's like, look at the supporting cast. Look at what he's dealing with. Again, like, I feel like I'm kind of kicking the can down the road here, as I mentioned, but you got to look at things from a bigger picture here and kind of take a step back and say, well, there are some legitimate problems in this offense, and it doesn't solely stem from him.
Yeah, my big thing the rest of the season, I want to see Mac truly take steps and being able to read progressions and, do things like, I don't know, like, if I can say that, do more explosive, make more explosive plays, because that's just not what's going to be designed for him.
That might be their problem too, trying to do that. Like,
yeah, like I don't want to see him airing it out all the time, but I want to see more than just checkdowns from him, because that's really all he does. And
that's Stevenson's been their
think,
biggest offensive weapon, which is a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think he has really made any progress in, working through his progressions yet.
mm-hmm.
And that's a problem for a guy's a first round pick in his second year. Like, that's like a make or break thing for an NFL QB. If you can't do that, like, you're not going to make plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to be leaving guys hanging. You're going to be missing out on opportunities, and that's just not going to cut it. Like,
Yep.
I need to see progression in Mac being able to process the game better, because I don't think he's really taken a step in that this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he literally looked better at it last year, which is bizarre to me. Like, in some ways, but partially it's because of the whole new look on offense.
Real offensive, yeah, exactly.
He's seeing things differently because the different looks are setting up for him. But like, I still think there's improvement to be made.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it happens, because I don't want to have to deal with in the future, like, quarterback controversy.
Looking for quarterbacks again. Yeah.
I'd rather just have Mac be the guy. So
yep.
I think he can be, but right now I think he's got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I think you did see one, we didn't really talk about it because we didn't go in really in depth into his performance as a whole, but I thought you did maybe see one small baby step forward, and there wasn't an egregious pick this week. Like, he didn't have an ill-advised throw, wasn't throwing into, like triple coverage or anything. And maybe that's because the offense as a whole was so bad that they really didn't have a ton of great passing plays on the day, but I thought that was something maybe to take away, is that, his decision-making process, again, there was still some times of the happy feet and the jitteriness, but, when you're getting pressured for as much as he was in that game and your offensive line is breaking down on every play, like, you kind of have to take that as it is. But the fact that there wasn't any, bad interceptions, bad decision-making things, I guess is a positive you can take away.
Yeah. That's kind of
baby
the kind of stuff you don't want to take away as positives for your QB, but
yeah, it's like, it's kind of where you're at though. It's like you have to take it with a grain of salt type of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully it stays that way, because for obvious reasons. But shall we get to the week 9 recap?
Sure. It was not a great week. Again, you said it last week. It continues into this one. It's just slowly trending down. I feel like there weren't a ton of outstanding games, but we'll do it like we always do. You can start off with the Thursday night game.
Yeah, I just don't really have a ton of this game.
I didn't either. That's why I deferred to you, because I didn't catch
tough.
any of this game.
Bad beat for me. Texans almost covered plus 13.5, but they did not.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles just took care of business. Dameon Pierce is like the one bright spot for the Texans, but the team is still rebuilding with a lot of work to do. And I mean, Jalen Hurts every single week has like a 75% completion percentage. I swear, like, he's so precise. Like,
I know everyone has talked about Mahomes and Allen as the two front runners for MVP, but I feel like Jalen Hurts should be right in that consideration.
Put Hurts and Tua in there.
Yeah, Tua's a great one too. Yeah, I mean, he is. Both those guys have finally arrived. I know it obviously took more the microscope was on Tua than anything else, but Jalen Hurts, it seems like quietly, because I feel like he's not really the guy that gets talked about a lot in that offense. You have big moments from AJ Brown. They're a good run team.
You know what it is with Tua, I think too? I think people look at him differently because he's a lefty.
I think so. Yeah, there's like a weirdness factor there where it's like he's like,
which I kind of get, but like it is weird.
It is. It's a little strange to knock a guy for that, but I get where you're coming from. But
it's not even like knocking it to me. It's just like people look at them differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, man. Like,
yeah,
it's like when you see the occasional right-handed catcher goalie.
Oh, it's like a unicorn. Yeah, it's a very strange thing to see. Different. But yeah, just on the Eagles,
we don't see many good ones. Like,
no,
really,
that's the thing
only
too.
Really notable good ones are Michael Vick and Steve Young. Like,
yeah,
that's really it.
I was just like Tebow had one moment in a playoff game. Other than that, like
Tebow, if we're talking college QBs,
exactly
one of the best college athletes ever.
Yeah,
but he's ridiculous in Florida. But up next, Chargers and Falcons. Two teams that have just had weird up and down seasons. Falcons, namely just blowing games or almost blowing games. The Chargers
love making it interesting.
Everybody just gets hurt on the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
But as you've noted here, Cordarrelle Patterson was solid in his return. Didn't like blow everybody away, but did have 2 touchdowns and
was kind of eased back into things. It seemed like
on the ground. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, definitely makes a sizable impact in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But as you also have noted here, the ending of this game was on drugs, so I will
Yes.
defer to you to.
Yeah, I was trying to catch
catch
it,
people up on
obviously
that.
flipping back and forth in red zone, trying to figure out. Obviously, I have Austin Eckler, as I mentioned, for fantasy, so just kind of keeping an eye on him. Even before, I think it was even before this, the sack, not the sack, the forced fumble that Khalil Mack had on, I think it was Drake London. I don't know if you saw it. He literally just ran over and just ripped the ball right from him out of his hands, just because he's so much bigger and stronger. Was just hilarious to see. But yeah, you talked about it. The Falcons can't get out of their own ways on numerous occasions. This game, even before the double fumble, you have Austin Eckler, who it looked like was going to score a touchdown. It looked like he rolled off of his defender, but apparently he was rolled down. That obviously cost the Chargers a touchdown at the time. It cost me a fantasy football win, which I'm still not over. Like I would have been very comfortably up in the game I was in. I wouldn't have had to rely on Justin Tucker to try to single-handedly beat Chris Olave and the Ravens defense on Monday night. Obviously that didn't happen. But then, yeah, the end of the game, the Chargers trying to set up for a field goal. Austin Eckler, a rare fumble from him on the Atlanta 22, gets recovered by, is it Taquan Graham? He fumbles on the Atlanta 43, trying to return the ball. So then a couple plays later, Cameron Dicker hits a game-winning field goal. Like, it's just typical Falcons. They give up a 22-yard completion on that drive too to put the Chargers in field goal range. So they doesn't matter what they do, no matter how good they look at times, they still are the Falcons. They still continue to just trip over themselves in every way, shape, or form. And just again, it's like someone needs to do a case study on the Falcons and just what the hell's wrong with that team. But just to see that play, the two fumbles back to back, it just looked like neither guy even wanted to just handle the football. They were just like, here, somebody else take this. It was just kind of funny to see.
Yeah. That was a goofy game.
Mm-hmm.
A game that was not goofy was the Dolphins and the Bears game. Is my voice coming in a little?
Yeah. No, I got you. You're fine.
Weird. Okay.
No.
It sounded like it was like skipping and like my headset. I've never heard that before, but I just wanted to make sure I was coming in clear.
You're good. I got
Dolphins and Bears wouldn't have expected 32 points from the Bears. Maybe, the Dolphins put on some points, but Justin Fields and Tua had a little bit of a slugfest here. Justin Fields is entering like fringe guy territory. And it's a little more than fringe given like his sudden like stud running ability that we know he's capable of. But like, dude, he set an NFL record this week. He beat Michael Vick for most rushing yards by a QB in a game.
It's good company to be in from
he's Lamar Jackson light right now. He's really becoming that type of QB.
Who would have thought that a Monday night football win over the Patriots in a game that no one predicted you to win would be the kind of the springboard jumping off point for him to play as well as he had.
Never forget where it started.
Yeah,
you'll always have
give you a win
to thank if he becomes a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, well, Justin Fields has put himself into an interesting debate that I've seen the last couple of days, and I want to get your thoughts on really quick about this game. Is he the best quarterback taken first round wise in last year's draft? Would you put him above Trevor Lawrence and Mac?
Right now, absolutely.
I think I would have to too. I think it's him 1. I'd probably put Lawrence 2, Mac 3, just because you don't know about Trey Lance, and we saw what Zach Wilson is when he gets sped up.
If he does this for like the large majority of next season or a full season, he's an MVP candidate next year.
I would not disagree with that in the slightest.
He's
like you said, Lamar Jackson in the making.
The thing that'll hurt him is if he can't boost those passing numbers. Like Lamar Jackson can do it on the ground and like tear you up through the air as well. A little tough right now without Mark Andrews, but Justin Fields is, entering one of those conversations of like legit quarterbacks in the league if he keeps this up. So it was a really fun game. It's crazy what Tua can do when he has two nasty receivers.
Funny how that works.
They've really beefed things up there. They are becoming more of the 49ers with time too, with Jeff Wilson. He made his debut in this one. They're a good ass team. Like when they're clicking, like good luck trying to beat them offensively.
Scary team. Yep.
Because
this was how fast that offense is.
Hill and Waddle can routinely each drop like 130 plus yards in a game.
Yep.
In like the same game. Like is there another team in the league that can do that? I don't really think there is.
I was going to say if Cincinnati gets Jamar Chase back healthy, T. Higgins starts to figure some things out more, like those two guys, other than that, I can't really think of anybody. Like,
And you not only that, they're the two fastest receivers.
that's
in the
what I
league,
mean.
too.
You
Like,
just can't
you
cover
can't
them.
even catch them.
No,
Like they're
they
both just
one quick slant and it's
ridiculous
all over.
players. Yeah, like it really doesn't take much sometimes.
Mhm.
Tua, like super efficient, no picks, looked really good again. It's a really like not surprisingly entertaining game, but like definitely at a different level than I expected. So
Definitely didn't think
shout out
it'd
to the
be
Dolphins and the
close.
Bears.
Yep,
Like,
absolutely. It was one of the more entertaining games of the weekend, and it's you
Yeah,
saw that on the
100%.
schedule. You're like, oh, this is going to be a blowout in Miami's favor. Like, not worth watching, but it
Yep.
was.
The next game, Panthers and Bengals, was something because it was like 42-7 at one point, finishes 42-21. Joe Mixon went berserk in this game. 211 total yards, 5 touchdowns. PJ Walker, one of the worst stat lines you'll ever see. Poor guy. 3 for 10 for 9 yards, 2 picks. Baker Mayfield comes and throws 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold's back, so they got a situation to figure out.
I might
at
play
QB.
Sam Darnold in all honesty, just to see if he can do anything.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
give him a
you traded
game,
for the
see what
guy.
happens. Yeah, exactly. You traded for him.
Let's see.
Yeah.
See if you can get something out of him.
Yep.
Same thing with Mayfield, but like Mayfield's kind of gone.
We know what Baker Mayfield is. He's
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean,
story of the
Joe
game. You
Mixon
said
game.
it. Joe Mixon, that was the story of the game. Like, I think he finished with something like 55, 56 fantasy points. So
Yep.
maybe close to the record. I don't know off the top of my head what the record was, but a buddy of mine did say he was approaching it if he remembered correctly. So he may have passed it, may not have. I'm not sure. But
I wonder how many points the SMU quarterback would have had last week if he was in the NFL. The kid threw 9 touchdowns and no picks.
God, I'm sure you could. There's websites I've done it before where you can run through player stats and put it through a fantasy football like calculator to see what the numbers would have been. So
yeah,
might have to do that to see.
That Houston SMU game, I think there were 98 points scored with like 12 minutes left in the third quarter.
That's insane.
I've
over.
never seen anything like it. You could do a double over. Packers and Lions. I am declaring the Packers dead.
I was just gonna say the day the game where the Packers season died and Aaron Rodgers died along with it because he looked horrible in this game, absolutely horrible.
Like, talk about. I know he doesn't have Devontae Adams, but like, dude, he's just not even close.
Doesn't matter if you're such a great quarterback like everyone says he is.
Yeah, like you can make that case. Like even when they had Devontae Adams, like, oh, he's doing this with like pretty much no one at receiver besides Adams. Like that's all he has. No, he doesn't have Adams, and he still sucks. Like, well, he not still sucks, but he sucks without him. Like people are like, oh yeah, like he can do it like with limited talent. No, he can't.
Nope.
No, he can't. Romeo Dobbs got hurt at one point in this game too. I don't remember if he came back or not.
I don't think he
so
did.
That hurts, but
yeah, I think it was just mainly Lazard.
The worst defense in the league, and you put up 9 points. Like, I don't care what Aaron Rodgers is playing. Like, you got to put up more than 9 points against the Lions defense.
He's the reason they didn't. He had 2 red zone picks or 2 end zone picks. Like, just an absolute. Got to be one of the worst games of his career. I'd have to imagine because he was, excuse me, not good in this game in the slightest.
Yeah, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Jaguars Raiders. I think this is like the 4th game of the year. The Raiders have blown like a 17-point lead.
Josh McDaniels is going to get fired.
I mean, you have.
We're gonna have an offensive coordinator next year. Get excited!
Yeah. Man, this. I mean, like the Raiders are just. This is just crazy.
They're
like,
bad too. Like
they let go of Jonathan Abram this week. They get nothing for a former first rounder. They just hate their first round pick.
Typical
Jonathan
Raiders.
Like Jonathan Abram, like unless I'm missing something, is like still like pretty decent.
That's what I thought when I saw the name. I'm like, I think it was supposed to be pretty good. Today. Yeah. Well, the Packers, come out good in the end, but that's kind of the thing where like we talked about this last week. You're starting to figure out what some of these teams are. Like, I think you just solidified this week that the Packers and the Raiders are
dead.
Two of the worst teams in the NFL. Like,
dead.
Maybe the Packers figure it out just because they have Aaron Rodgers, but there's no hope for the Raiders. I don't think.
Nope.
No, nothing.
Nothing. I mean, like you have noted here, like Devontae Adams, crazy day, wasted. Travis Etienne, like
guy's an animal.
He's gonna have a monster season next year if he can play this consistently good, like establishing himself as one of the best backs in the league. Mm-hmm. Christian Kirk came back to doing stuff, which is
Every
good for the
week I bench
Jaguars.
him. He is aggravating. Every week I bench him on my fantasy team. Again, to go back to that, he
That's
seems to go
classic.
off. And every time I start him, he does nothing. So I'll
Isn't that
start
the
him next
best?
week. He'll go for like 3 catches on 5 targets for 20 yards.
That's the best.
I'd be
isn't
like,
it?
awesome. Yeah.
Josh Allen and the Bills take a loss to the Jets, surprising
Mm-hmm.
loss. Trap game, I guess, if you will. But like
That's
the
for sure.
Jets are kind of like out of trap game team territory now. Josh Allen was not great besides on the ground and potentially has a at least decently significant UCL injury.
Yep. Slightly
So-
torn from what I saw from Ian Rappaport today. Could play through it, but he didn't practice today. I don't think he's probably going
I
to
don't
miss
know
the
how you
Vikings
play through
game.
a UCL injury as a quarterback. Like,
I don't.
that
Well,
would
that's
just
what
be
the thing I
nuts.
saw. I said it was. A lot of people said that's basically a baseball injury. Unlike
Unless it's like
pitchers,
unless
obviously
it's
get surgery.
not your
from that.
throwing arm.
No, it definitely was when he. I watching the game, saw it happen when he hit the near strip sack at the end of the game. Clearly, he's obviously was fiddling with it and clearly got effed up during the play. So, I mean, he's a gamer, like he's a big dude. So you got to think he'll try to gut through it with the year Buffalo's had. But I mean, how much he means to that team. But maybe if this lingers, the Bills might look as vulnerable as they have looked all season, and maybe you're able to catch the Bills here.
I don't know. That would be something.
How would you feel if you're a Jets fan right now, though? You get killed by the Patriots for the whatever it was, the 13th time in a row, but then you come out the next week and you beat the Bills. Like, if I was a Jets fan, I would not know how to feel. Yeah, I'd be like, what?
All right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, okay, cool. Like next when they play the Patriots the week, they'll lose a 14th time, and then if they play the Dolphins the next week, I don't know what their schedule looks like. They'll beat them. So,
yeah,
up and down for the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets.
Whoa, my chair just
even
broke.
when they're playing good, they still find ways to surprise you. Vikings Commanders. Vikings are now 7-1, 2017 victory. TJ Hawkinson was awesome in his first game as a Viking. So was Justin Jefferson. Not his first game as a Viking, though, believe it or not. Yeah, I mean, not like the prettiest win for the Vikings, but they get it done.
True. Sorry, my chair broke. This stupid wheels.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's an old chair. Wheels broken. Tends to
no.
break from time to time. How I haven't fallen on my ass yet, I have no idea. But yeah, like you said, TJ Hawkinson was good in this one. Justin Jefferson's still nasty. Vikings maybe look a little vulnerable because it took you to the final couple seconds to beat Washington. But they're still pretty good. I think it's just one of those ones where you maybe not a trap game because the Commanders aren't that bad, but who knows? You have your slip ups here and there.
Yeah. I mean, a whole lot to add in this game. I didn't see much of it. That's why.
No, I didn't. I caught the end of it, the game-winning field goal, and that was it.
Yeah, the Seahawks, man, like
They're
one
legit.
of the stories of the season. They're good. They're
Yep.
good. I can't believe it. I don't think they have a good roster. I really don't. But I mean, Kenneth Walker is coming along strong. Their defense is playing better than I expected. I mean, who could have expected Tariq Woolen to be as good as he is as a rookie? And there's a guy that caught some eyes at the combine with his insane testing numbers. But like being practically a number one corner right away as a 5th round pick is pretty bizarre. But credit to him, it's a pretty crazy story. Geno Smith is just efficient, dude. I didn't expect to see this like efficient, polished decision maker.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Doesn't make a lot of mistakes either.
Dude,
Like
he doesn't
protects the ball
overthink
pretty
things.
well.
He's got he's throwing darts. Like it's crazy. Like I thought we see Geno Smith be Geno Smith this year, and the Seahawks suck.
Yeah, I think you and I, obviously with our preseason predictions, had this as a tank year for the Seahawks, blow it up, get rid of some guys, and go back into the draft. But he's held down the fort really well. I mean, that team as a whole. You said it. Kenneth Walker's been excellent. Since stepping up, coming back from his injury at the start of the year. Their defense is much better than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. You sacked Kyler Murray 5 times, force a fumble. Now Murray's dealing with a hamstring injury, so the Cardinals might be unraveling here. I mean, I don't want to get into the question of, does this win say more about the Seahawks or the loss say more about the Cardinals? Because I think the Seahawks, as I just said, is a legit team this year. The Cardinals on the flip side, they're frauds too. They're bad. Like Cliff Kingsbury's probably should get fired at the end of this year because I don't think he's that good of a head coach to begin with. And I think you should maybe consider why you gave Kyler Murray such a massive amount of money because he is. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the NFL.
Trash.
Yeah, he's not very good.
I mean, like, it's just so like they're just such a strange team because
They
they
have so
really
much
are.
talent. They should be better than they are.
Capable.
Like,
Yeah, they are capable of being so much more, and they just can't figure it out. It's just really like, it's really hard to put your finger on because like Kyler Murray legit should be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's being held back by
absolutely.
himself at times. But like, it's definitely on Kingsbury as well. But like,
Mhm.
I don't know if they ride it out or they think it's time to put the kibosh on Kingsbury or give him more of a chance. But like, I don't know how you can expect much different if you keep him around. Like, this is
Same
kind of
stuff. Yeah.
like, it's not the MO like that. We haven't seen it quite like this, but like, do you want to let this bleed into next year? Or do you want to start fresh next year? That's the question they have to ask themselves because
Mhm.
this doesn't look like a super easily fixable thing at this point.
No, it looks like there's some dysfunction there. Absolutely. Like,
It's really bizarre and it's hard to put my finger on, but there's a basic, attempt at trying to understand it a little bit.
mhm.
Rams and Bucks, low scoring affair. The Bucks win, and we saw Tom Brady finally look like Tom Brady a little bit.
I know I kind of wrote him off last week, but again, I just see maybe flip flopping here, but maybe this is a win that springboards the Buccaneers. Like, Tom was pretty fired up at the end of this game, dropping F-bombs in the
Yeah.
post-game presser. Like, first time he looked like he's enjoying playing football for maybe the last month and a half, because he's been a miserable SOB there. But
Yeah, like his I saw Vivian said like he doesn't have his happy face on the field.
yeah, well,
So
he did
maybe
after this game.
maybe
The-
he'll have his happy face now and he'll
Maybe.
start
I mean,
playing
this
in sicko mode
typical
again.
stupid Rams at the end of this game. I don't know if you caught the end of this, but just the fact that Brady goes 5 for 5, 54 yards, surgical like he always does, but they gave them the sideline on pretty much every play. I think the first pass Brady had was like a 28-yard strike over the middle to maybe Cade Otton, if I'm remembering correctly. So that was the
I
only
think
play.
so.
Got up, spiked the ball, and then went sideline for the next like 4 passes. And that was it.
I
It was
mean,
over,
the
or
Rams
3
didn't make it
passes.
hard.
Yep. Obviously, the defensive pass interference helps as well to get them into the Reds or the goal line.
It's pretty bizarre. Like, the Rams still have a pretty good roster, even after losing Whitworth to retirement and Darius Williams to the Jaguars. Those losses both are affecting them like on an extreme level.
Yeah. Well, I think
Like,
he
way more than
massive
I
Super Bowl
expected.
hangover too. I feel like that they just
Like,
can't seem to get out of.
Williams was a great cushion next to Ramsey. They don't have a guy quite as good as him to step in, and not having draft picks contributes to this. Like, you
Yeah, it
don't have
doesn't
an
help.
immediate like awesome replacement,
Yep.
or at least serviceable replacement for Andrew Whitworth. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yep.
They are such a weird team, but that's still a roster where I see 3 and 5, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Like,
Oh,
it's still a really good team. Like,
yeah, they're in more trouble now too with McVay. I don't know if you saw it today. Said that Matt Stafford is
yeah.
apparently in concussion protocol, so he might not be able to play next week. I don't know who the Rams have, but their season might be slowly coming unraveled, and not at a great time.
the Rams have the Cardinals this week.
Oh, okay. So
That's a
no Matt
winnable
Stafford
game.
versus
Maybe
it
that's
is a
a get-right
winnable
game.
game, but without Matt
If Stafford plays.
True. I don't know who the backup is in LA, but
I
I can't imagine he's
John Walford still,
okay.
or why do I feel like there's someone I'm forgetting?
I don't
It
know.
is, John Wolford, and
Okay.
they have Bryce Perkins as well. So
I don't even know who that
I
is.
don't think they're going to put Bryce Perkins in. He's like a
No.
7th round quarterback, I think. Michigan State maybe. I'm guessing. I think
All right.
I think I might be right, but Chiefs and Titans in OT. Derrick Henry, still Derrick Henry. It's crazy that the Titans are in these games,
Mhm.
given the fact that they just don't throw the ball.
Their defense is great. Their defense is the only thing,
yeah.
and obviously Derrick Henry keeps them.
It's gotten to a
alive,
point
but-
where, like, if you're a fantasy guy and you have any receiver on the Colts or the Titans, you just can't use them right.
No, I don't know how you can have. I mean, I don't know if you watched any of this game, but why? I mean, again, the play calling, they clearly don't trust Malik Willis to throw the football. Just 5 completions on 16 attempts.
It's kind
You
of
thought-
crazy. Like, imagine being him. Like, dude, like, you gotta be thinking to yourself, like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
like, how am I gonna get better? Like,
Oh, I mean, it's a combination of that and the fact that like their best
They have
receiver
Henry.
is who? Robert Woods. Like, I know Traylon Burks they designated him
Yeah.
to come back today, so maybe there's some help on the horizon there. I know Tannehill's getting healthier.
That Kyle Phillips kid they drafted,
Yeah,
who
he's
had a
not half
decent start to
bad.
the year, is hurt as well. So
Yeah, that's
he's been
true.
out for a couple weeks.
But like, I was just watching that overtime. It's like clearly
Yeah.
they had no faith in him. I mean, Malik Willis, the last two plays, just tried to do his best Patrick Mahomes imitation, just run around, scramble, and find something, but just didn't look great. In that case, I don't know why they only ran the ball with Henry once, the first play of their drive in overtime, and then never touched the ball again. Like bizarre play calling there from Vrabel, but in the end, like you can only go toe to toe with the Chiefs for so long before they burn you, and that's exactly what happened. Like Mahomes had the weirdest 446-yard passing game I've ever seen. Like just one touchdown.
It's just like nobody's talking about how he threw the ball 68 fucking times.
I didn't even know that. I watched that game and didn't even realize that he had thrown it that much. So I looked it up today. Like,
jeez,
it's ridiculous. Just again,
maniac.
you can only hold that offense down for so long, and it's only a matter of time before they figured something out. And they did.
Yeah, like they threw the ball to Kadarius Toney first game. I was like, oh my god, is Kadarius Toney gonna be a monster like right away? Are they just gonna
did nothing? Yeah,
find ways to find him all game, and I don't think he really did much outside of that.
He had 2 catches for 12 yards, if I remember correctly. So
yeah,
nothing crazy.
Something
McCole Hardman's like a gadget guy now. He's scoring, passing, and rushing touchdowns left and right. Like that offense looks as deadly as it ever has.
Yeah,
which is not fun.
Yeah, not great. At least we don't have to play them this year. Ravens and Saints. I gotta be honest, I caught like none of this game.
Nope, I saw nothing of this. I'm just going off a box score here. Saw that Kenyon Drake had a good game, 2 rushing touchdowns. Andy Dalton, from what I heard, is talk about washed quarterbacks, and the Saints. They're the Saints. It seems like when Alvin Kamara goes in that team, they go 9 rushes, 30 yards, no touchdowns for him. Andy Dalton was sacked 4 times. Ravens defense stepped up and played well. Lamar was, serviceable in this game without Mark Andrews.
No, I gave a Jimmy Garoppolo take earlier in the season. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback of the Saints next year.
That wouldn't be a bad pick. Is Winston there for 1 or 2 years?
Somewhere like, he's healthy now, isn't he?
See, I didn't know. I thought he was, but then when Andy Dalton was playing in this game, I guess he's not. I don't know if he's still dealing with the multiple, whatever it was, the fractures in his back, or the pain everywhere. But I mean, if he's healthy,
no consideration
to
benching Andy Dalton. From an NBC Sports article yesterday, dude. Like, if they're not putting Jameis in, like, I don't know how they have confidence in next year unless he comes in at some point and like reinstills hope. I don't know. This could be a Jimmy G spot unless they, go for a QB in the draft this year, but. Man, the Saints are weird. They're boring, especially with Michael Thomas done for the year now.
Yep.
I just have a hard time watching them. But the Ravens, I mean, the Ravens are fun.
Yeah, Ravens are good
without Mark Andrews. I think that's going to wrap it up for our Week 9 recap. To kind of fill in for the lack of Patriots game we had to preview, you had the good idea of giving our second half predictions.
Yeah, I thought we have been pretty wrong with a decent amount of our predictions. I think you and I both had a couple of winless teams. That is not the case. You and I both had the Seahawks missing the playoffs and the Falcons missing the playoffs, and both those teams at one point have led the division this year. So what'd you say?
The G-men missing the playoffs.
You did. I mean, I did too. I had no thought of the Giants making the playoffs. No thought of the Jets being a playoff team. The Packers I thought was going to be a top team in the NFC. That's not the case. So I thought I would give us a chance to maybe right the wrong on some of these picks. And as we're at not the halfway point, because there really isn't a halfway point in the NFL anymore, but like you said, we're at the Patriots bye week. So instead of doing some more Patriots talk to close out the show, I thought with how the NFL has shaped up right now, we would maybe change our predictions a little bit just for a reminder back in. I meant to put what episode we had this in here, the original predictions. What you and I had for mine for the AFC playoff teams, I had completely wrong on this one. This was my big, F up. It seems like I had the Chargers winning the conference at 12-5. Buffalo as the 2 seed at 12-5. The Colts as the 3 seed at 11-6. Cincinnati and the 4 seed is 11-6 as well. And then the wild card teams, Kansas City at 11-6, Denver at 11-6, and the Raiders at 10-7. For my AFC title game, I had the Chargers over the Bills. And the NFC playoff teams, I had the Buccaneers in the 1 seed at 13-4, the Rams at 13-4 as well in the 2 seed. Green Bay at 12-5, Philly at 11-6, the wild card teams, the 49ers at 11-6, Minnesota at 10-7, and Dallas at 10-7. with the Buccaneers beating the Rams in the NFC title game. And then the Super Bowl pick for me was the Buccaneers and the Chargers. None of those picks right now, minus the Bills game being in the AFC title game, for me looks all that well. How were you faring in your predictions? And then like I said, we'll jump into our new predictions depending on how the season has gone.
Yeah, I mean, I had Buffalo 1 seed, which looks pretty good. Not going 17-0 though. I had Cincy 2, Chargers 3, which could happen, probably not. Indy 4 looks pretty bad right now. They're looking terrible. Denver's looking terrible. I had them as the 5 seed. I had KC as the 6 seed. With Denver taking over that division, that was way wrong.
Yeah.
The Raiders making the playoffs at 10-7, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. I had the Rams 16-1, number 1 seed, looking
But them
pretty
losing
rough.
on opening night and then winning out the rest of the season.
Yep, and that didn't happen.
Nope.
Wasn't super comfortable with that one, but I wasn't gonna go back and just change it for the sake of
called
changing
them
shit.
Bold predictions for a reason. They were bold.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had the Bucks as a 2 seed, Green Bay 3rd, Dallas 4, Mini 5, Arizona 6, and San Francisco 7. I had the Eagles missing the playoffs, which is one of my more glaring errors, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Bills over the Bengals in the AFC title, the Rams over the Bucks, and the Rams winning the Super Bowl over the Bills. But I might be right on one of those teams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, well, depending on how Josh Allen looks the rest of the way, I am a little skeptical if he can hold out. So for the new,
that's the thing that sucks about these predictions, because they could.
You don't know what's going to happen exactly.
We don't know what's going to happen with Josh Allen. So
yeah, I changed mine 3 times today alone,
crazy.
just trying to figure out if he was healthy or how long he was going to miss. Because if he misses some time, or they choose to sit him out a couple of games at the end of the season, maybe they wrap things up early. Things could look very different. I've seen some very optimistic Patriots fans saying, if the Patriots get a Bills team without Josh Allen at the end of the year, maybe they steal the win. I don't know if I go that far. And fingers crossed, absolutely, but I don't know if I would say that just yet.
With Case Keenum, I think the Patriots could beat the Bills.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right. I don't know. I'm not high on the Patriots as we know, as we've seen. But yeah, for new predictions, again, we ran it through that NFL playoff, schedule predictor app that we did with the original predictions. So with the new predictions and how the season has gone at the week 9 or week 10 matchup. For the rest of the way, I have my playoff teams looking as such. Kansas City, I have them as the 1 seed at 13-4. Buffalo, because of the uncertainty with Josh Allen moving forward, I have them as the 2 seed at 12-5. Baltimore as the 3 at 12-5 as well. Tennessee, in what has turned out to be a garbage division, they are going to finish at 10-7. The wild card teams in the AFC, Cincinnati at 12-5. They actually get the wild card on the last game of the season. I think that last matchup of the year with Baltimore will determine who wins that division. Chargers is a 6 seed at 11-6, and Miami as the final playoff team at 11-6 as well. In the NFC, Eagles, I think you ride them at 14-3. They're going to have a couple of slip ups towards the end of the season. They still get the 1 seed. Minnesota at the 2 seed at 13-4. San Fran 12-5. Tampa Bay at 10-7. They end up winning that division. Dallas as the first wild card at 12-5. Seattle at 11-6, and the Giants, as you said, the G-men, they make the playoffs as well at 11-6 for the AFC title game. I have Chiefs over Bills. Again, if the Chiefs get the 1 seed, I think, again, it all depends on if Josh Allen is healthy. I don't know if he's going to be down the stretch, so I have the Chiefs beating them. And then the NFC title game, I have the Eagles beating the 49ers. In the Super Bowl, it pains me to do it. And then I saw what your prediction was, so I had to flip mine. I have the Chiefs.
Come on, don't do that.
Go
with your gut.
I did, but then I talked myself into if these 2 teams match up in the Super Bowl, I think it comes down to who's been there before. And obviously the Chiefs, if they meet the Eagles in the Super Bowl, Chiefs have more experience there than the Eagles do with Andy Reid, with Patrick Mahomes, guys like that. So it kills me to do it. And again, to be an ass and to be different from you, just to not be, the same 2 picks. I have the Chiefs beating the Eagles, unfortunately, in the Super Bowl. I had Bills over Eagles originally, but again, I don't know what Josh Allen's going to look like as we get towards the end of the season.
I don't think the Allen stuff should have affected things that much for you, because I don't think it's going to last into even close into the playoffs unless it's much more serious than we think. But
I don't know how much they're withholding from people, because like I said, I've seen a couple of analysts say like if it was a baseball pitcher, a similar injury, they get surgery and their season will be over. So maybe they're trying to, again, the Bills aren't going to tell you how serious it is. If it is serious, they're just going to go, oh yeah, he's he's day to day. Like we'll take it week
Yeah.
by week. We'll see. So I
I'm
don't know.
making
I'm hoping he's healthy, but I don't know.
I'm making mine contingent on him missing limited time.
Okay.
So I'm going with the Bills winning the AFC at 15-2. I do think, they'll win a good chunk of their remaining games, as will the Chiefs, also at 15-2. I have Baltimore at 13-4, the 3 seed. Tennessee taking the 4 seed with a measly 9-8 record, winning their terrible division.
Yep.
Miami at 12-5. I really think, Miami's got the mojo they need, and they're gonna hit my mic here. I got it back to normal. They're gonna win some games. So I have them at 12-5 finishing strong. I think the Chargers end at 11-6. They'll eventually get healthy and get the ball rolling here. And Cincinnati taking the last slot at 11-6. In the NFC, I'm not going to doubt the Eagles anymore because I had them at like 9-8 and missing the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 16-1 on the Eagles. I think they're the most well-rounded team. Mm-hmm. They have made significant additions from the draft on the trade market, and they're a wagon.
Okay. If you can remember back, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but doing that prediction and doing the week by week stuff, who was their one loss to and what week?
Oh, I can take a look real quick.
Okay.
I'm
very curious.
Their one loss. They don't I think I had a surprising one.
That's what I mean. They don't have a lot of tough.
Dallas in week 16. I think Dallas.
Yeah, I have them split with Dallas. I think too at one, but
I think it'll just be one of those classic like divisional battles, and Dallas will come out the victor.
Okay, I could definitely see that.
If I remember correctly, they have like a fairly easy remaining.
That's what I mean. Too. They have a very good shot of running the table at the end of the year.
Speaking of teams with easy remaining schedules, I will draw your attention to the Minnesota Vikings. I have them finishing 15-2 this year. Cowboys could be tough this Sunday or next Sunday. So, maybe that's a tough spot for them.
They luck
the
out
Bills,
against
I have
Buffalo.
them losing to the Bills. If Josh Allen plays, these predictions are contingent. Things will be affected by the Josh Allen injury if that happens, especially in this game, given
I was going to say they luck out if they get Buffalo without him.
There's the Bills and the Cowboys, kind of tough, but 2 games they could potentially win. Probably not the Bills if Allen's healthy, but the Vikings play the Patriots on Thanksgiving. I think they'll probably win that game. The Jets, I think they'll beat the Jets unless the Jets, decide to be pesky. They'll beat the Lions, they'll beat the Colts, they'll beat the G-Men, they'll beat the Packers, and they'll beat the Bears.
Okay, out.
They have a pretty easy remaining schedule for the most part. Like, this is a team that should probably win 14 games minimum at this rate. Mm-hmm. I have the 49ers at 12-5. Much like you, I have the Bucks at 9-8, winning that division, another terrible division this year. Dallas at 14-3, the G-Men at 11-6, and the Seahawks taking the last seed in the NFC playoffs at 10-7 versus 0-17. I had them at. It's so bizarre how
it's been a weird year. Yep.
It's been a weird year across the board, but I have Chiefs over Bills in the AFC title game, and Eagles over 49ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
I hope for my sake it is your prediction and not mine.
Oh, dude, it kind of makes me glad that they didn't win the World Series, even though I would have loved to see Schwarber win. Like, if they won 2 championships in the same fucking year,
you'd never get the end of it. It'd be awful.
Oh,
it's just wild how much
I hate the Eagles and I hate Philly. So, I really hope this doesn't happen.
It's for me. It's
sorry
again,
to our Philly listeners, but
yeah,
if you listen long enough, you know how I feel.
Yep,
it's not against you personally.
This is not a new thing, yeah. But I mean, I was just gonna say, just the last closing thought here. Like, it's kind of wild that how, again, you don't know the severity of Josh Allen's injury, but if he can't go down the stretch, if he was healthy, rather, like you and I feel like would have probably picked Bills. Like, I definitely would have picked Bills over Chiefs. I would have had them winning the conference. I would have had that game being in Buffalo, and the Bills finally, knocking off the Chiefs and going to the Super Bowl here. And then, it's really a coin toss between the Bills and the Eagles. So I think those are probably the 2 most well-rounded teams, but it's tough with how, with just the uncertainty around him.
It is. And of course, this comes out when we're trying to make our prediction.
Exactly. It's like how insensitive of the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen.
God damn
But,
it! Don't get
yeah,
hurt around this time of year,
exactly.
Josh.
Yeah.
Think of the
But
people.
you wish him all the best. I have no
Yeah.
ill, intentions, and don't
No, he's
hate Josh
awesome.
Allen. You hate the Bills because you're a Patriots fan, but like I like
Yeah.
Josh Allen. I like Stephon Diggs, like Von Miller. So it's
Yeah.
a team with players you can root for. It's just the fact that they're on that specific team. It's like, I kind of hate that I have to root for these, or I like rooting for these guys.
Yeah. Fair. I think that's going to wrap it up this week, though.
I think
Don't
so.
you think
We'll
so?
obviously jump back into the more Patriots related predictions game wise when it comes time next week. Maybe some MLB free agency news as well if that starts to trickle out. Obviously, there was a trade, like I said today, nothing too major between the Rangers and the Braves, I think. The team that Odorizzi came from. Yep. So again, if I can't remember it, it wasn't too crazy. So hopefully there'll be more stuff to talk about. And the Red Sox will maybe re-sign a certain shortstop that I hope doesn't walk, but who knows?
Won't.
I don't think they will either. I think Dave Dombrowski's going to pay an arm and a leg for him. It's going to make me sad.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
They also like Trey Turner too, so we'll see what they do.
If they replace him with Trey Turner, though, I wouldn't. I might be
No,
able
I'm
to
talking
get
about
over.
the Phillies. Like,
oh, okay, that's true. Yeah, I did hear that. That's
Yeah.
the Red Sox would never sign Trey Turner. What am I talking about?
Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. So do that if you wish. You can find us on Twitter. You can follow me at Mike_Cratty, Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio. And you can follow the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. One day we'll get back to posting more consistently on TikTok. Just don't know when that'll be. I just have no energy to cut up clips and post on TikTok when I get home from work. So sorry, but maybe we'll get back to it. But just hang tight if you're eagerly awaiting. Maybe it'll happen someday. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for listening. The support we get every week is really awesome to see. So thank you so much. New and old listeners, we will talk to you next week for episode 120. So yeah, hopefully we'll have good stuff to talk about. We'll talk to you then. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff, and just make the world a better place. And we'll talk to you next week. Peace out.